Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Shinigami I am Uchiha Madara. Chapter 81. Stepping out of the door of the house, Uchiha Madara looked up at the blue sky and took a deep breath. Defeating the assessment instructor did not cause any fluctuations in his heart, because it was just a matter of course. What Uchiha Madara is looking forward to more is the mysterious Gotei 13. Gotei 13, originally founded by Yamamoto Genryusai, is a group of killers who use the name of Gotei to kill. Before that, it was the Zero Division that guarded Seireitei. Later, after the establishment of the Gotei 13th Division, it was handed over to the Gotei 13th Division to protect the safety of Seireitei. Gotei 13 became the strongest force in the Soul Society after Team Zero lived in seclusion in the Soul Palace. For every resident of Rukongai, it is a supreme honor to join Gotei 13 and become a Shinigami who guards the Jingling Temple. More importantly, those who can become the captain of the 13th Division are not ordinary people. Whether it is strength or talent, they are all at the top level. Being able to come to such a place where strong people gather is the reason why Gotei 13 attracts Uchiha Madara. As a man with blood flowing all over his body, Uchiha Madara has the word fighting engraved in his bones. Not fighting for the sake of fighting, not fighting for the sake of killing, but for pursuit. Fighting is to break through the prison of the mind, to break through the cage of rules, and to stand on the clouds. Gotei 13, captains, wait, hold on to your Zanpakuto and wait. I, Uchiha Madara, am about to overtake you. Uchiha Madara's resolute face raised an arc full of expectation, and he took steps, crossed the entire Junyongaling Academy, and came to the entrance of the academy. Walking out of the students, Uchiha Madara felt an indescribable feeling in his heart. Although Shino Spiritual Academy is generally regarded as the cradle of Shinigami, it is nothing more than that in the eyes of Uchiha Madara. The seemingly peaceful academy is actually no different from a greenhouse for cultivating flowers. And those students who still have immature faces are like flowers in a greenhouse, and they will not experience setbacks and wind and rain at all. Even in the end, the flowers can thrive, but there is always a lack of perseverance. Once encountering an unprecedented storm, it is very likely to die prematurely. People like this CCEF are not worthy of being called strong at all. Uchiha Madara walks alone on the empty road, looking back, his whole life has been spent in battle. In that era when there was no country and ninja village, the best way to protect yourself was to fight. Bathing in blood, stepping over countless corpses, witnessing too many joys and sorrows, witnessing too much blood and killing, Uchiha Madara's cold heart was forged. The cruel tragedy is like layers of cocoons, unknowingly wrapping his great love heart, causing Uchiha Madara to give people the illusion of being thousands of miles away from others. In fact, Uchiha Madara is not a cold and heartless person, but that kind of supercilious haughty is an innate temperament. After being reborn, in the original Haweko Mundo, Uchiha Madara loathed the world for a time. Because Haweko Mundo's killing made him feel tired, and seeing too many killings made his heart numb again. It wasn't until he came to Soul Society, until he met those two people, that Uchiha Madara had a glimmer of hope for this world. Before you know it, Uchiha Madara returns to Rukongai again. Looking at the familiar street and the bustling crowd, he couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It has been a year since the last time I left. If it were anyone else, once a noble Shinigami, most would not want to set foot on Rukongai again. Because Rukongai is the representative of ordinary and poor. Most of the residents here are just ordinary souls, without even a trace of spiritual power. No power, no status, no strength, can only live a dull life. Therefore, most of them choose to forget the past and look forward to a new future. However, Uchiha Madara is different. Even though he is a rare genius who is admired by countless students, he still chooses to return to Rukongai. Because here remains the first bond he established here. Ichimaru Jin, Matsumoto Rengaku. Crossing the long street, these two immature figures appeared in Uchiha Madara's mind. That boy with a mysterious smile on his face all the time, that girl with a pure heart. Open black lens bracket. The heartwarming moment when the three shared dinner, the smiles of Ichimaru Jin and Matsumoto Rengaku, the awe-inspiring Mr. Madara. Everything seems to be vivid in my mind, not only has not been washed away by the long river of time, but has become deeply rooted. Mr. Madara, once you become a Shinigami, don't forget me and Jin. We will definitely work hard to become an outstanding Shinigami and join Gotei 13. Please take care of Mr. Madara when the time comes. Everything that happened in the past kept ringing in my ears, accompanied by complicated thoughts, and before I knew it, Madara came to that familiar street again. Although this is the poorest place in Rukongai, in Uchiha Madara's view, it is also the place that is most worthy of his nostalgia. Walking to the end of the street, the familiar small house finally appeared in Uchiha Madara's vision. When he came to the gate, Uchiha Madara heard two childish voices coming from inside. Silver, in 3 months' time it will be the new recruiting session of Junyongaling Academy, do you think we should sign up? Rengoku, don't think too much, you haven't learned how to take care of yourself let alone become a Shinigami. Well, I don't know what's going on with Mr. Madara. Hope he's doing well. Don't worry, Rengoku, I'm sure Mr. Madara will be successful. Squeak. Suddenly, the door of the house was pushed open. Ichimaru Jin and Matsumoto Rengoku turned around in panic, and when they saw the figure standing at the door, they froze for a moment. After a year's absence, we finally meet again. There was no sound at this moment, and even time seemed to have stood still. The three gazes intertwined in midair, as if speechless. Silver, Rengoku, Mr. Madara, is it really you? Matsumoto Rengoku opened his mouth wide in surprise, looking at the tall figure standing at the door in disbelief. Although the encounter a year ago only lasted 3 months, and they left in a hurry, Uchiha Madara left an indelible impression on Matsumoto Rengoku's heart. Separation is not the end, remember that only a beautiful encounter is needed, sometimes in life, only one encounter can determine the future. The unintentional encounter will change each other's fate. Each other's lives are like two parallel trajectories, although they are not connected. But under the interweaving of the goddess of fate, they will eventually be entangled with each other. Mr. Madara, aren't you still practicing in the Junyong Academy? Even Ichimaru Jin was stunned, he once had an agreement with Uchiha Madara that was buried in his heart forever. Originally, he thought it would be a few years before he could see Uchiha Madara again, but he didn't expect that this time there was no sign, which was far beyond his expectations. Rengoku, Silver, we meet again. As if he couldn't bear to put on a cold face in front of these two children, Uchiha Madara had a rare smile on his face. Great to see you again, Mr. Madara. Matsumoto Rengoku's big clear and bright eyes were covered with a layer of mist, and a tear fell quietly, dripping down the smooth skin. For the kind-hearted Matsumoto Rengoku, Ichimaru Jin and Uchiha Madara are her closest friends. When I first came to Soul Society, I was lonely and almost starved to death in the suburbs. Fortunately, Ichimaru Jin saved their lives, and they depended on each other for their lives. The first time he met Uchiha Madara, the man drenched in blood gave Matsumoto Rengoku a cold, terrifying feeling. Matsumoto Rengoku once thought Uchiha Madara was scary. However, with the passage of time, Matsumoto Rengoku discovered that Uchiha Madara is actually a person who is cold on the outside and hot on the inside. Although on the surface there is a haughty, arrogant, and cold temperament that rejects people thousands of miles away, but Uchiha Madara has a warm heart. That sincere heart, accustomed to the cruelty of war, seemed to fall into an endless deep sea, sinking slowly, from blue to black. That heart sank gradually and finally became pitch black. Because of the cold, I can no longer feel warm. Because of the cold, I can no longer feel emotions. Because of the cold, the bond can no longer be established. Just because the heart no longer beats, the blood no longer boils. This is the heart of Uchiha Madara. Change his heart, change his ruthlessness, change his mood. That was the idea of Matsumoto Rengoku, who wanted to unravel the frost that covered Uchiha Madara's heart. Melt it, protect it. Forever. The three looked at each other and smiled, and came to the familiar wooden table. There were not too many words on the scene, and everything seemed to go back to a year ago. There are hot meals on the wooden table, which look delicious, and the strong fragrance floats to every corner of the room. It was the luckiest thing today to meet Mr. Madara. Matsumoto Rengoku smiled knowingly, the ordinary silver bell-like voice was so clear and sweet. She picks up the chopsticks to pick up the meal and enjoys the wonderful moment. Oh, it's been a long time since I saw Rengoku have such a good appetite. Ichimaru Jin still squinted his eyes, and his body was filled with an impenetrable sense of mystery. Although the room is not large and the decoration is not luxurious, it has a peaceful and warm atmosphere. Compared with the tall and well-decorated college dormitory, maybe this is called a home. Looking at the smiles on the faces of the two children, Uchiha Madara finally felt the warmth she once had. He was relieved and devoted himself to this relaxed atmosphere. There are no worries, no concerns, no burdens, and no pursuits. Only the purest enjoyment. Mr. Madara, can you tell us about your experience at Shinyang Academy? Yin and I are very curious. Matsumoto Rengoku put down his chopsticks, his chin was propped up with his clean white hands, and he stared at Uchiha Madara with wide eyes. Those clear eyes were full of anticipation. Yes, I am very interested. Ichimaru Jin was leaning against the corner, his eyes always squinted. The Shinigami Academy. It can indeed be called a breeding ground for cultivating Shinigami. However, it is not a place worth yearning for. When it comes to Maoling Academy, Uchiha Madara doesn't have any mood swings. Obviously, he didn't place any emotion on the school. In Madara's eyes, the Shinigami Academy is nothing more than an insignificant scenic spot on the road of Shinigami. Even if the scenery during the journey is beautiful, it is not worth nostalgia, because this place is too weak. The real strong should yearn for a broader sky. It's like the eagle that spreads its wings to soar into the sky, and the shark that preys on the fish in the deep sea and chases it hard. Only by striving forward, the regiment will not be eliminated by fate. Matsumoto Rengoku and Ichimaru Jin were thoughtful. They pondered for a moment and asked, I see. Then, Mr. Madara, how have you mastered the basic Shinigami lessons? Matsumoto Rengoku showed two small canine teeth, smiled and said, I heard that there is a genius in Junyang Lingyuan Academy, who has the ability to graduate in just 1 year. Speaking of it, he seems to be in the same class as Mr. Madara, to know if he knew him. Genius. It turns out that genius is so within reach, how ironic. Uchiha Madara shook his head and said calmly, Rengoku, the genius in the rumors, is actually me. What? Ichimaru Jin and Matsumoto Rengoku opened their mouths wide in surprise, and exclaimed, how is it possible? Although I know that Mr. Madara is very strong, but I didn't expect to be able to do something that no one has accomplished in decades. If not, why would I appear here? Before completing their studies, students are not eligible to leave without permission. Uchiha Madara smiled and didn't explain too much. Whether they believe it or not doesn't matter at all. Honor, praise, title, these vanity things, in Uchiha Madara's view, are insignificant at all. Only power is the most worthwhile thing to follow. Because, only the ability to control everything dies. Night gradually fell, and the hazy night shrouded Rukongai again. There was nothing to be seen in the empty streets, and all the inhabitants went back to their houses. It has to be said that while Rukongai is a peaceful place, it lacks a certain amount of fun. On weekdays, the residents of Rukongai are playing soy sauce, enjoying a good life peacefully. The cold wind whizzed by, sweeping down the fallen leaves hanging from the branches. Although the night was extraordinarily quiet, the unremarkable hut was different and full of laughter. Especially that immature girl's voice is as sweet as the voice of nature. The yin-yang candlelight illuminated the whole room, making the backs of the three people look no longer lonely at night. Of course, it was more Matsumoto Rengoku and Ichimaru Jin talking, and Uchiha Madara listening. Mr. Madara, when are you going to leave? Matsumoto Rengoku tilted his head and smiled, I really hope Mr. Madara can stay longer. Looking at the expectant look in Matsumoto Rengoku's eyes, Uchiha Madara couldn't bear it, but still said calmly, 3 days, I only have 3 days of vacation. I will leave here in 3 days, and then Gotei 13 will be held enrollment ceremony. Only 3 days. The look of hope in the eyes gradually faded and became dull. She sighed in frustration and stopped talking. The atmosphere suddenly became silent, and even Ichimaru Jin remained silent. Although the sudden appearance brought them great surprises, the short stay also made them feel sad. Hey, Rengoku, Mr. Madara is joining Gotei 13, we should be happy for him. Ichimaru Jin couldn't bear to see Rengoku sad, so he changed the subject quickly. Well, a good thing for Mr. Madara. Matsumoto Rengoku forced a smile on his face, and even though she was reluctant to leave Uchiha Madara, she was really happy for him. Although she is only a girl, becoming a Shinigami is her dream. Mr. Madara, which team do you plan to join? With your talent, you must have the right to choose your team freely. Ichimaru Jin squinted his eyes, and an imperceptible cold light flashed in the depths of his pupils. This look was not aimed at Uchiha Madara but at the man from the 5th team. From that day on, willingly turned into a cold snake, using those sharp teeth, began to love people. With that addicted mouth, he said, "Guardian," in a loud voice. This is the meaning of this gaze, and it is the only mission of Ichimaru Jin from now on. Uchiha Madara responded calmly, "A team. I didn't think too much about it. But if I have to make a choice, maybe it's the 11th team." Hey, it's exactly what I guessed. The 11th team, the team that advocates fighting, seems to be quite suitable for Mr. Madara. Ichimaru Jin squinted his eyes like a fox and said, "If it were me, I would choose the 5th team." The corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth curved in admiration, and he could see Ichimaru Jin's unwavering determination. This determination is as deep as the sea, as solid as the mountain Madara, and as floating as the clouds. This determination is unshakable, like a light that guides the way forward in the darkness. Keep going, until you kill that man. Silver, mine is waiting for you at Gote 13. Uchiha Madara smiled slightly, and didn't speak too much on the topic. Matsumoto Rengoku looked dazed. Although the dialogue between Uchiha Madara and Ichimaru Jin seemed ordinary, she always felt that there was some kind of secret hidden. However, out of trust in the two, Matsumoto Rengoku did not delve into it. She believes that there is no need to hide from each other, just because of the trust buried in her heart. When night falls and the cold wind blows, darkness is born and light dies. In the light, there is nothing to rely on, but in the dark, we must protect each other. Carefully guard, never leave. Only for that inseparable feeling. Before I knew it, the night passed. In addition to reminiscing, at the urging of Ichimaru Jin and Matsumoto Rengoku, Uchiha Madara also showed Shikai in front of them. When the two of them saw the round fan that symbolized the glory of the Uchiha clan, they couldn't help sighing. After all, in the hearts of every Rukongai resident, it is a dream to have a Zanpakuto of their own. Don't be surprised, when you become Shinigami, you will also have your own Zanpakuto. Oh, I don't know what my Zanpakuto will look like, what abilities it will have. Silver, I know your character too well. Your Zanpakuto is definitely not the type of frontal combat. Maybe sneak attack is your style. Hey, Rengoku, I'm going to get angry when you say that. You see, even Mr. Madara laughed at me. In the dead of night, Uchiha Madara sat cross-legged in the room where he had lived for 3 months. Although compared to the 1-year student life, this day is very short. But it is the day that Uchiha Madara misses the most. On this day, he unloaded all the burdens and let go of the shackles of his soul, as if he had returned to the carefree era when he was a child. There is no disturbance of war, no birth of tragedy, only the tranquility that people cherish. That firm heart was finally comforted. Happy times always pass by like quicksand, and 3 days have passed in a blink of an eye. It's finally time to part. Pushing open the door, taking firm steps, Uchiha Madara walked out of the room. Little ghosts, there will be a period later. I hope that when we meet again in next time, you will have already put on your death-fighting outfits. Uchiha Madara's figure looks heroic under the scorching sun. He didn't turn around, but chose to bid farewell with his back turned. Mr. Ban, I will definitely do it. I will definitely chase after your back until I can look up to you. A crystal clear drop fell from the corner of his eye, and Matsumoto Rengoku broke down in tears. She plucked up the courage and ran forward desperately. Her immature hands hugged the tall figure from behind, tears streaming down her cheeks. Uchiha Madara stopped, turned around, stroked Rengoku's head with his palm, and smiled. This world is like an ocean. If you can't swim up, you can only sink down. Rengoku, since you want to pursue it, let's make yourself stronger. Putting aside all distracting thoughts, Uchiha Madara returned to Mauling Academy. For him, today is an important day, and it is also the most anticipated day since Madara came to Soul Society. Take the oath ceremony, join the Gote 13, and become a true Shinigami. True Yongling Academy. The wide aisle was densely populated with people, and everyone was whispering, constantly talking about the major events that would happen today. Did you know? Uchiha Madara's swearing-in ceremony will be held today. He will be a member of Gotei 13 from now on. I'm really envious. I heard that he graduated after only 1 year of practice. It's really scary. Compared with such a genius, we are scumbags. I heard that he also has the right to choose a team freely, which seems to be specially approved by the top management of Gotei 13. I'm really curious which team he will choose. I heard that he is an arrogant person, so he probably won't make a choice easily. Uchiha Madara's deeds have long spread throughout the academy, and he has become a legend in the eyes of all students. Cold, arrogant, genius. This is the impression of most students on Uchiha Madara. In their eyes, Madara is full of mystery. Because Uchiha Madara is not willing to deal with these students on weekdays, many people even only heard their names but never met them. The man who was like a fan also caused the silent students to become excited for a while. In the depths of the Maoyang Academy, a meeting room that few people set foot in during the day. The environment here is closed, and it is a place where only the upper echelons of the Junyang Lingyuan Academy are qualified to set foot. Unless something important happens, even the mentor can't trespass here. Suddenly, an old voice broke the silence. Uchiha Madara, are you sure you want to make this choice? Once you make a choice, you cannot go back on your word. In the center of the room, besides the 4 senior mentors, there was also an old man with a slightly stooped figure. He is one of the elders of the Junyang Spiritual Academy, and he rarely shows up on weekdays, and even most of the students don't know his existence. Uchiha Madara stood in front of them calmly, without any mood swings. His eyes are burning, his will is firm, like an unshakable rock. Did you really choose the 11th team? The old man asked again, and this was Uchiha Madara's last chance. That's right, the 11th team, the fighting team. Uchiha Madara responded calmly with a blank face. Sure enough, as I expected. The old man coughed twice, and said seriously, Uchiha Madara, although I haven't been in contact with you for a long time, I can feel a domineering spirit from you. The old man praised. This sharpness is sharp and sharp, which is very in line with your talent. However, you have to understand one thing. All the achievements you have made today are only based on the narrow environment of the Junyang Lingyuan Academy. It is not something to be proud of. Quote, after joining Gotei 13, you will find a wider sky, and there is a good time to spread your wings. Seize this opportunity, hold the blade in your hand tightly, and move forward regardless of everything. You must always remember to stick to your heart, don't be shaken by anything, and don't give up easily. The old man seemed to think of something, and sighed, join Gotei 13 and become a Shinigami, and you will be able to gain unprecedented honor. Presumably this is what most people think. Unfortunately, this idea is too naive in my opinion. Gotei 13 is not as simple as imagined. After guarding Jinglingting, they also bear other responsibilities. Over the years, I have seen too many geniuses fall. They either lost their lives, or disappeared. No matter what, it's all because you didn't stick to your heart. The old man stared into Uchiha Madara's eyes, and said solemnly, I agree with your decision, the 11th team is indeed the most suitable for you. Through your eyes, I can even feel the firm belief. An appreciative smile appeared on the old man's wrinkled chrysanthemum face. He said with relief, after so many years, an outstanding student has finally appeared in the Shinyang Spiritual Academy. Presumably, Captain Yamamoto must be very happy to meet you. Captain Yamamoto, will he come too? Uchiha Madara frowned slightly. He was not afraid of Captain Yamamoto, but was afraid that Ajucha's identity would be exposed. Although he can already be called a perfect Arankar, he is still different from ordinary souls in essence. Maybe ordinary Shinigami can't see through his identity, but as the strongest Shinigami in the millennium, Captain Yamamoto is hard to say. If the identity is exposed, the result is self-evident, and I am afraid that he will be burned to ashes by Ryujin Jaka. So, it's like a gamble. In case Captain Yamamoto really shows up, there is nothing he can do but pray silently that his identity will not be revealed. A gamble of life and death, but also fate with Shinigami. Luckily, fate has chosen to side with Uchiha Madara. The old man shook his head and said, as the captain of Gotei 13, even if you are a genius who appears once in 100 years, you are not qualified to let him come in person. However, the old man continued, we have reported your choice to Gotei 13. Presumably it will not be long before the captain of the 11th team will come to the academy. Captain of the 11th team. Uchiha Madara pondered in a low voice. For some reason, he always felt that the captain of the 11th squadron was not a simple role. It seems that you really don't know anything about Gote 13. But it's not surprising, every new student is always curious. The old man smiled slightly and said, "Then, while this is the time, let me introduce the captain of the 11th team." A tall figure appeared in the old man's mind, and his expression became extremely dignified. He said in a deep voice, "I think you also know that the captains of the 11th squad all have the title of Kenpachi, and it also represents the strongest fighter in the Soul world. Each generation of Kenpachi has terrifying combat power, and even looking at the entire Soul Society, it is almost impossible to find an opponent. And this generation of Kenpachi, who even defeated the 7th generation Kenpachi who once defeated Vasto Lord, was followed by the 11th team members. He is the 8th generation Kenpachi, Mole City Shuangya. Kenpachi, Mole City, the current captain of the 11th squad, his strength is unfathomable, and even most captains are afraid of his strength." Mentioning the man known as the strongest fighter in the Soul Society, even the veterans of the Junyang Academy have a dignified look on their faces. Although Uchiha Madara is not familiar with the Mole City of Kenpachi, the latter's reputation spread throughout the Soul Society. No matter who it is, as long as they hear the name Mocheng Shuangye, they have to express their admiration. Monster-like strength, as well as legendary deeds, are also hallmarks of the Mole City of Kenpachi. Mocheng Shuangye was originally a member of the noble Mocheng family who was quite outstanding in military force. As the eldest son, he was placed high hopes by the family from the moment he was born. With extraordinary talent, coupled with the resources possessed by the nobles, the future of Mocheng Shuangye looks immeasurable. However, fate always likes to joke. Because of framing, the Mocheng family suffered a change, and at the same time, they were also suspected by the Central 64 office. But not long after the Mocheng family had an accident, other nobles framed most of the Mocheng family members to death because they coveted the Mocheng family. The only surviving sister was also killed and devoured by Shu when she fought against Shu at the execution ground. The Mole City, who had no intention of becoming a Shinigami, was influenced by the entrustment of his sister before she died, and personally stepped forward to fight against Shu, who killed her sister, and revived his Zanpakuto. This incident not only caused the nobles who were on the sidelines to be replaced and executed, but also affected Central 46 and abolished the execution system. From then on, Mo Chengshuang also became famous. Because of his extraordinary skills, he still had the title of Kama Itachi at that time. Soon after, Mole City Su also defeated Kenpachi of the 7th generation in a duel, and inherited the name of Kenpachi. As we all know, the captain of the 11th squad basically does not deal with internal affairs on weekdays, even the captain's meeting held by the general captain is often ignored, and there is no trace of him on weekdays. Quote, quote. The old man took a deep breath and said with emotion, "Even I didn't expect that man to come to Junyang Academy in person, which shows how much he attaches importance to you." Uchiha Madara didn't change his face, and he didn't show any emotion because of the strength of the Mole City Kenpachi. He smiled slightly and said, "I see, the man who is known as the strongest fighter in the Soul Society is really interesting. Even if he doesn't come to me, I will take the initiative to come." The old man nodded and praised. "Sure enough, you have courage, but you have to be careful. Mo Chengshuangya is not an easy person. Apart from having a powerful Reiatsu, even the city is bottomless." Shrewdness, Uchiha Madara said disdainfully. Perhaps the city government can change the situation to a certain extent. But in the face of power, any city government is nothing more than an inconspicuous trick. Once mastered the power of 6 paths, once crushed the ninja alliance with absolute power, Uchiha Madara was afraid of any means at all. War is like the rushing Uzumaki, which will never stop except for the constant strangulation of life. And the only way to lead the war is to have the power to change the world. Strength is like a daunting peak, only when you climb to the top can you witness the most beautiful scenery. The whole room was silent, and there was a heavy atmosphere in the air. Heavy, oppressive, making it hard to breathe. Every minute and every second passes, as if every second is like a year. Not only the old man, but even the 4 mentors seemed anxious. Although they have a high status in the Maoyang Academy, they are respected by the students. But in the face of a captain who controls the team, he still can't calm down. What's more, it was the 11th team known as the battle team. Even in the jingling court, they walked sideways, and they didn't pay attention to their mentors at all. Thinking of the man carrying the title of Kenpachi, the backs of the 4 mentors were wet with cold sweat without knowing it. Such an embarrassing thing can only happen out of inner fear. Finally, after most of the day passed, a sudden noise broke the dead silence. Creak. The door of the house was pushed open, and the dazzling sunlight penetrated into the room through the gap in the door, instantly illuminating the dark environment. Under the reflection of the scorching sun, a slender figure elongated on the ground. Pat. The steady and powerful footsteps are like a silent catharsis, letting out the hockey who despises everything. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. The tall figure finally stepped into the house completely, and his appearance stood clearly in the eyes of Uchiha Madara. It was an elegant man with a crown on his head, 2 long bangs parted in the middle, and a black ponytail. He is tall and tall, with a straight waist like a towering spear. Although the deep eyes did not have any fluctuations, they revealed a kind of wisdom that sees through everything. In addition to the black domineering attire, the elegant man was also wearing a white robe, and the 11th team was impressively engraved on the back of the robe. Captain of the 11th Division, Mole City Kenpachi. When Kenpachi of Mole City stepped into the room, his eyes locked on the figure of 6 paths in the house. After skipping the 4 instructors one after another, he just glanced at the old man, and finally landed on Uchiha Madara firmly. Are you Uchiha Madara? The unremarkable voice contained an undeniable aura. This kind of momentum is not arrogance, but a kind of self-confidence stemming from trust in one's own strength. When this voice came from Kenpachi Delee's Mole City, there was nothing inappropriate but a sense of naturalness. Is this the captain of Gote 13? Sure enough, Uchiha Madara's pupils narrowed slightly, and the moment he saw Kenpachi, the Mole City, he felt a vast sea of terror from Reiatsu. What's more, this kind of Reiatsu crushes Ijukas enough to give Madara an extremely dangerous feeling. As expected of a captain-level character, Uchiha Madara remained calm and remained silent. However, Kenpachi of Mole City said, "It is a blessing for our 11th team to have a talented student like you. However, the 11th team is a place that advocates strength. If you want to join, you must get my approval. Pull out your Zanpakudo and let me see your strength, Uchiha Madara. Draw your Zanpakudo and swing your blade at me, Uchiha Madara." Mole City Kenpachi had his hands behind his back, his face was expressionless, and there was a mysterious calmness in that cold voice. It was unusual that none of the 4 mentors, including the old man, saw his Zanpakudo. After all, Zanpakudo can be regarded as a part of the soul of every Shinigami, and it is the strongest force that can be relied on. Without carrying Zanpakudo with you, you can see the extraordinariness of the Mole City Kenpachi just from one point. The 4 eyes met, a stream of condensed air slowly flowed between the two, and the surroundings were filled with deathly silence. Mole City Kenpachi, Uchiha Madara. One bears the honor of Soul Society's strongest warrior, and one was once the most resolute warrior in the ninja world. The duel between fighters is first of all a competition between wills. Soldiers are not perfect, epic. But warriors are absolutely invincible. Only because of that fearless will. As a resolute fighter, he has experienced countless battles. From the moment his hands were covered with blood, the will called bravery has been deeply integrated into the soul. Can a man fight if he loses his courage? Only when a person has courage, is he qualified to raise the blade in his hand. Clang! Palm gripped Zanpakudo's hilt tightly, and the sharp blade appeared in the air. The sword body, which is not too wide, exudes a sense of atmosphere, and the sharp blade contains a sense of vigor. Unabashed haki. To become a king who dominates everything, in addition to having the temperament of a king, what you must have is to pursue fighting and strength wholeheartedly. Don't have any mercy, and don't have a compassionate heart. Do your best to kill the enemy without mercy. Hit him and cut him to pieces. This is the mission of a Zanpakudo. All the will is completely condensed on Zanpakudo. The will that belongs to Uchiha Madara also represents the power of Uchiha Madara. After all, like the fluttering wind, a trace was drawn in midair, and it slashed towards the Mole City Kenpachi silently. What a quick slash! Among the 4 mentors, the one who was in charge of teaching the chopping technique, suddenly shrank his pupils, and his heart turned into a turbulent sea. Because of the Shikai as a graduation condition for Uchiha Madara. Therefore, they did not conduct assessments from the 4 aspects of Kido, Shunpo, white hits, and chopping. Until this moment, witnessing Uchiha Madara's slashing technique with his own eyes, the mentor had to sigh. No matter which aspect, Uchiha Madara is impeccable and fully possesses the strength to become the seat officer of Gotei 13. I don't know if this slash can hurt the Mole City Kenpachi. The old man's face was solemn. He was very optimistic about the strength of Uchiha Madara, but he had to admit that the power of Kenpachi, the Mole City, was even stronger. To be fair, this is a battle without any suspense. Regardless of strength, regardless of will. In any case, Uchiha Madara must not win. Because, the title, Kenpachi, means everything. Excellent chopping technique. The power you have is beyond my expectation. You really deserve to be the once-in-a-century genius of Shinyo Academy. Mole City Kenpachi still carried his hands on his back. Even though the blade was gradually enlarged in his eyes, his expression remained unchanged. But, Mole City Kenpachi smiled slightly and said, "This level alone is not enough to hurt me." As soon as the words fell, Kenpachi made a move that shocked everyone. He stretched out a heel finger, trying to block Uchiha Madara's CCDI slash with his finger. "I see, is this your attitude?" Uchiha Madara did not get angry, but instead showed a meaningful smile. No more words are needed, only practical actions are needed to prove it, which is enough. Boom! The sharp blade slashed down, but was blocked by Reiatsu's fingers covering the surface. It really blocked it. The instructor of Junyang Lingyuan Academy had to take a deep breath. They couldn't comprehend how terrifying Reiatsu Kenpachi of Mole City could do all these things with ease. Oh, sure enough, even a genius only has amazing potential. However, it takes years of precipitation for potential to turn into strength. It appears that Uchiha Madara has failed. No, look carefully at the expression of Mole City Kenpachi. The eyes of the 4 people converged on the face of Mole City Kenpachi at the same time, but they saw a slightly surprised expression. In fact, Mole City Kenpachi was indeed surprised. Although he managed to block the blade with his fingers, but he felt Uchiha Madara's will from Zanpakuto. That kind of will is unprecedentedly strong, even stronger than the members of the 11th team. Tenacious, persevering, passionate. This is the will that only true warriors possess. This will can cut through confusion and reach above the clouds without hesitation. He's a man who can carry the title of Kenpachi. The surprised expression froze, and immediately turned into a gratified smile. Mole City Kenpachi said loudly, "When confronting an opponent, you can feel a little bit of the opponent's thoughts. Although you can't see through the opponent's mind, you can feel what kind of consciousness the opponent is holding when wielding the blade. Do you agree with me or despise me? But, Uchiha Madara, you are the only one I can't see through. It's scary to have an unparalleled will but not be able to see through your heart." Mole City Kenpachi is not shy about his admiration for Uchiha Madara. With this level of blade, he is indeed qualified to be a member of the 11th team, and it is not difficult to even become a Dewey. Just when Mole City Kenpachi was about to put away his fingers, his expression changed in vain. Even he himself didn't notice that a scar appeared on his finger at some point. A drop of scarlet blood seeped out from the crack, looking extremely dazzling. Under the surprised gaze of Mole City Kenpachi, blood dripped down the ground along his fingertips. Tick-tock. Although the sound is not loud, it is particularly harsh. Mole City Kenpachi, no, I should call you Captain Joe Chang. Uchiha Madara said calmly, "So now I am eligible to join the 11th team. Then I am qualified to be a member of the 11th team now." The sharp Zanpakuto hangs in the air, and the sharp blade is aimed straight at Kenpachi, the Mole City, as if provoking. Mole City Kenpachi looked up, looking away from the scar on his finger to Uchiha Madara. The 4 eyes meet each other, the 2 gazes are completely different, everything is said without saying anything. Uchiha Madara's eyes are indifferent, without any ups and downs. Those are a pair of confident eyes that come from the depths of the soul. Sharp, deep, impeccable. If you are stared at by that sharp gaze, you will have the illusion that you have nowhere to hide. That is a look that has gone through countless years, seen the vicissitudes of time, and felt the joys and sorrows. This gaze is awe-inspiring, admirable, and even fanatical. From now on, you are a member of the 11th team. Mole City Kenpachi woke up from his trance. His brows were slightly frowned, as if he didn't expect Uchiha Madara's eyes to make him fall into it. As the strongest fighter in the Soul Society, he was affected by a firm gaze without even a sound, and even had an illusion. I was negligent, but maybe he's the one I'm looking for. Mole City Kenpachi murmured in a low voice. His eyes were complicated, and he seemed to be preoccupied. In fact, even Gote 13 feels that Kenpachi is full of mystery, and even the captain of the 12 divisions thinks so. Perhaps on the surface, Kenpachi, Mole City, is loyal to Soul Society, but people always feel that he is not as simple as the surface. It's a pity that this kind of suspicion is only at the stage of speculation, and no one can produce evidence to prove that Kenpachi in Mole City has different intentions. Players, just players. Uchiha Madara lowered his arms and scabbard Zanpakudo. Although his voice was not loud, it contained a strong questioning. Even though Uchiha Madara has just graduated from Shino Soul Academy, he is confident that he can defeat the head of the Gote 13 and replace them. If it is just an ordinary player, I am afraid that Uchiha Madara will not be satisfied. I guessed you would say that. But don't worry, you do have what it takes to be a seated officer. But you can't break the rules of Gote 13. For some reason, Kenpachi of Mole City did not reject Uchiha Madara's confidence at all, but admired it from the bottom of his heart. One is the player and the other is the captain. Although the status of the two in Gote 13 is very different. But spiritually, the two are equal. The heart of the strong man will not change because of the temptation of the outside world, it will only become more determined. Hearts intertwine and resonate. Perhaps, this is the sympathy between the strong. Mole City Kenpachi smiled and said, according to the rules of Gote 13, every 10 new players have the right to challenge the seat officer. And this rule is strongly advocated in our Jujubin team. Mole City Kenpachi said in a deep voice, Uchiha Madara, do you know how each 11th team captain is born? Because of the challenge, Mole City Kenpachi clenched his palms tightly, and the veins on his arms bulged. He said loudly, the 11th squadron is a combat troop in the Jingling Court. It advocates martial arts and bravery spirit and is the best among all squadrons. In the 11th team, there is only one iron rule, and that is strength. Only strength is everything. Strength determines status, and also determines seats, so any challenge is legal. Looking at Uchiha Madara's cold face, Moleho Kenpachi exhorted, every challenge must be carried out under the witness of the entire team members to be able to convince people's hearts. Even the captain is no exception. Mole City Kenpachi smiled and said, I'm afraid you don't know, the captain of the 11th squad bears the title of Kenpachi, and the entire Soul Society can only have one Kenpachi. Every Kenpachi kills the previous captain before he can succeed, just like when I beheaded Tsukiyashiki. You want to become the chief officer, wait until you go to the 11th team to challenge. Although these words seem to be an understatement, the mentor of Junyang Lingyuan Academy was shocked. Sure enough, as the rumors said, Kenpachi died at his hands. It's unbelievable. That guy was recruited by the 0 Division back then. Asterisk. The old man sighed, and looked at Kenpachi, Mole City, with a bit of fear. Come on, follow me to Jingling Court. Mole City Kenpachi turned around indifferently, and didn't give any further explanations. Uchiha Madara was silent, but took steps and left the room following Mole City Kenpachi. The moment I stepped out of Shino Academy, the long-lost feeling came back again. That feeling of boiling dance, that hearty fighting spirit, that kind of excitement that goes deep into the bone marrow. Everything will be witnessed in that place. All power will also be regained in that place. Jingling Court, Gote 13. Wait for me. Seireitei is the place where the Shinigami gather and live. Located in the heart of Soul Society. In the key area of Jinglingting, there are departments similar to government agencies, such as the Central Underground Conference Hall and Gutting 13th Squad Team buildings. At the same time, all the noble mansions have been built here for generations. The walls around Seireitei are built with murderous stones that can block spiritual power. The murderous stone releases and decomposes the fluctuations of spiritual power to form a spherical protective cover that protects Seireitei from all aspects from the air to the ground. Therefore, Souls with general spiritual power cannot break through. Outside Seireitei is Rukongai, where the Soul Society civilians live. Normally, a civilian is not allowed to enter the walls. Led by Mole City Kenpachi, the two traveled unimpeded and soon came to the wall. To pass through this city wall that looks like a curse from heaven, one must pass through the 4 gates of Beidao, Qingliu, Hailang, and Zua. Because the distance between the 11th team and Zua is short after all. Therefore, under the leadership of Mole City Kenpachi, Uchiha also passed the boundary wall smoothly. The moment Uchiha Madara stepped into Jinglingting, it felt like a whole new world. Seireitei has a beautiful environment, with large grasslands and low-lying mountains. Most of the buildings on the street are plain in appearance, with light-colored walls and tiled roofs. Such a world is the world pursued by the strong. Jingling Court, the 11th team's team building. It does not occupy a large area, and the decoration is not luxurious, even very simple, but it contains a kind of bloody and murderous spirit. In addition to the daily living places of each team member, the team building of the 11th team has a special room for the team members to fight, and there is a martial arts competition table inside, which is used by the team members for daily practice, and the atmosphere is lively. The scorching sun hangs high in the sky. Even though it is a quiet moment, the 11th team is still full of heat. The sound of the collision between the blades, the roar of the players, and the sound of fighting one after another, resounded through every corner of the team building. On weekdays, in addition to the daily rest, the members of the 11th team are training part of the time. Maybe it's the eagerness to improve their strength, or maybe it's the influence of the atmosphere in the team. Regardless of the 653, every player is seriously involved in training. Drink. Under the scorching sun, the Black Death suits were already wet with sweat, and the team members' foreheads were covered with sweat, but their postures were still upright, and the Zanpakuto were still waving in their hands. As the only combat team, strength is the greatest pursuit of all students. Here, only the Emperor is in charge. If you don't have strength, you will be trampled under your feet. Survival of the fittest. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the door of the team building, and 2 figures passed through the door and gradually came to the center of the team building. Brush. When they saw the figure at the head, all the team members put away Zanpakuto unanimously and stood respectfully. Captain Mole City, you are here. The team members looked at Kenpachi, Mole City, with extremely fanatical gazes. There was no strangeness in their eyes, only absolute admiration. Be able to kill the previous generation of Kenpachi, and firmly sit on the captain's position. No sense, Mole City Kenpachi has a unique personality. He has a unique style of acting and has never been restrained by Gote 13. He even allows the players to fight each other and challenge each other. Such a move was unanimously praised by the 11th team members. There is no restraint, and strength is respected. This is the most suitable place for the strong to survive. You have worked hard. Mole City Kenpachi put his hands on his back, and said softly, "Today, we will welcome a new team member. He is also one of the most outstanding students in the history of Maoling Academy, and he graduated successfully in just 1 year." As the voice fell, Kenpachi deliberately took a step forward so that everyone could see the appearance of Uchiha Madara. What? It only took a year. He is a monster. This shocking news immediately caused the entire 11th team to explode. What does it mean to graduate in 1 year? Hieraku Shunsui and Jashiro Yukitaki, who have now become captains, are considered unique talents in the world, but neither of them graduated within a year. Compared to those two, Uchiha Madara's future achievements cannot be imagined. Uchiha Madara seemed to have expected this scene a long time ago. He was not complacent at all, but calm as always, and said, "I am Uchiha Madara, and I will be a member of the 11th team from now on." Uchiha Madara. The name is good, but I don't know how strong it is. Although most people are shocked by Uchiha Madara's talent, they don't take him seriously. After all, even a genius cannot possess the strength of heaven-defying overnight. To be reasonable, according to the usual practice, whenever a newcomer enters the fan team, he must start as an ordinary player and gradually improve before he can become an officer. Of course, there are also some special people who are qualified to be the chief executives as soon as they come to the team, but such people are too rare. HMPH, isn't he just a stunned young man? What strength can he have? That's not necessarily the case. For the captain to value him so much, he must have something special. Having mastered all the skills in 1 year, such a person is a monster, and he must not be taken lightly. The members of the 11th team talked one after another, and they kept looking at Uchiha Madara, as if they wanted to check his strength, but they found nothing. Captain Mochang, since I have come to the 11th team, can I carry out the so-called challenge? Uchiha Madara also kept observing each player, but was disappointed. Except for a few team members, the others are novices, not even as good as the mentors of the Junyang Academy. Didn't you say that Gotei 13 are all elite? Why, so weak? Uchiha Madara frowned slightly, feeling unhappy inside. Gotei 13 seems to be a little different from what he imagined. Actually, Uchiha Madara didn't know the status of Gotei 13. Although each fan team has many players, except for the chief executive, most of the teammates play the role of soy sauce. Besides training, Songneng is in charge. Little things like dying. It's just that the strength of the Ziguan is stronger than that of ordinary players, and most of them have mastered Shikai, so they have a combat power that cannot be underestimated. So eager to challenge. Not bad, great fighting spirit. Of course it's no problem. Mole City Kenpachi seemed to appreciate Uchiha Madara, and smiled. Then Uchiha Madara, under the witness of all the team members, I will give you a chance to challenge. Tell me loudly, which seat do you want to challenge for? 7 seats. Uchiha Madara said confidently. The 7th seat of the 11th team, please accept my challenge. Uchiha Madara's words immediately caused an uproar, and everyone had complicated expressions. There are shocks, expectations, and doubts, but more of them are cynicism. Why should a team member who just graduated want to become the 7th seat? Then the old players who have been around for several years are not living in vain. Many people felt a burst of heat on their faces, and they stared at Uchiha Madara maliciously, waiting for the scene where the 7th seat defeated Uchiha Madara to happen. While geniuses are admirable, a genius like Uchiha Madara who speaks outrageously makes the first team members feel teeth gnashing. Since when did a newcomer dare to be so arrogant? At this moment, a slightly bulky figure came out from the crowd. He looked at Uchiha Madara jokingly, and said coldly, I am the 7th seat of the 11th team, Shino Hayakawa, I accept your challenge. I am the 7th seat of the 11th team, Shino Hayakawa, and I am willing to accept your challenge. Shino Hayakawa walked out of the crowd and came to Uchiha Madara calmly. As an old player, he has absolute confidence in his own strength. Although it can't be called a genius, it can be regarded as a mid-range level in Gotei 13. A mere rookie is not enough for Hayakawa Shino to pay attention to. What's more, Hayakawa Shino originally wanted to take the opportunity to suppress the arrogance of the newcomer, and Uchiha Madara's cold appearance made him feel very uncomfortable. Isn't it a genius? In the face of overwhelming power, even a genius who hasn't grown up must succumb. Hayakawa Shino was tall and tall, coupled with that slightly rough appearance, he looked fierce and fierce, as if he had already gained the upper hand in momentum before he even made a move. However, momentum is not absolute. Momentum varies from person to person and from the heart. As long as the heart is not shaken, the will never be crushed. Uchiha Madara was calm and composed, and did not show the slightest panic because of Hayakawa Shinoto's provocation. From the beginning to the end, his steps were so steady, and there was only a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. Come on, rookie, hit Hayakawa, and let us see what kind of strength the so-called genius really has. Yeah, rookie, if you really do it, maybe the whole Gotei 13 will be famous from now on. A series of cynical voices sounded in Uchiha Madara's ears, like a cold blade in the cold winter, ruthlessly cutting open the skin. It's a pity that no matter how disdainful the members of the 11th team look in their eyes and how sarcastic their words are, to Uchiha Madara, it is like a floating mist, which can be easily crushed with just a little force. Pointless verbal disputes are nothing but a manifestation of inner cowardice. The real strong is not talking about it, but the real Wanshu who surpasses everything. The weak are jealous, but they lack self-knowledge. The strong are steady, but they never take the initiative to provoke. Clang! Uchiha Madara pulled out the Zanpakudo neatly, waved it lightly, and there was a clear and crisp sword chant. Are you so eager to do it? Don't forget, this is a challenge, and I will show mercy. Hayakawa Shino looked ferocious, he let out an angry roar, held up Zanpakuto and slashed at Uchiha Madara. Unfortunately, his speed is too slow. Even without using the 3-Tomo Sharingan, Uchiha Madara can still catch him easily. Shunpo. Without any fancy moves, Uchiha Madara instantly appeared behind Hayakawa Shino. Raise the Zanpakuto in your hand and wave it lightly. Brush. On Shino Hayakawa's Black Death Tyrant outfit, a crack appeared impressively. Hidden under the broken clothes was the bloody wound. The skin is cracked, the blood is withered. Under the blazing sun, the few blood flowers looked dazzling, just like the withered self-confidence. How is this possible? Hayakawa Zeno's face was sluggish, his mouth opened wide in surprise, but he couldn't say a word. He used to suspect that all of this was just an illusion, but it was a pity that the pain from his back shattered his illusion. He was indeed slashed by Uchiha Madara, and he didn't even see the slash clearly. Impossible, how could I lose to a rookie? Hayakawa Shino's eyes were red, perhaps because of the huge psychological contrast, which caused him to become angry from embarrassment. The self-confidence that has accumulated for many years is as fragile as white paper in the face of cruel facts. This not only shook Hayakawa Shino's heart, but also made his body dull. Go to hell, how could a rookie beat me? Hayakawa Shino turned around with a growl, and was about to wave the Zanpakuto in his hand, but there was a creepy feeling in his mind. That feeling made his whole body covered with goosebumps, cold sweat mixed with bloodline flowing, making him look extraordinarily embarrassed. What kind of eyes do you have? Didn't the blow just now let you appreciate the gap between us? Uchiha Madara raised a disdainful arc at the corner of his mouth, and said, if that's the case, I will smash your belief with my own hands. Because this battle is simply vulnerable. A chant came from Uchiha Madara's mouth. Thundering chariot, gap in the spinning wheel, this thing has clusters of light divided into 6. 61 of Bakudo, 6-stick light prison. The 6 paths light bar appeared out of nowhere, restraining Hayakawa Shinodo's body unexpectedly, making him unable to move. It's over. Uchiha Madara's eyes were calm, and the Zanpakuto in his hand pierced Hayakawa Shino's body without hesitation. At this moment, Hayakawa Shino's body was stiff and his expression was frozen. Apart from unwillingness, there was only deep remorse in his eyes. I'm really not reconciled to be defeated by a rookie. With the last trace of regret, Hayakawa Shino closed his eyes. The flower of life withers forever, just like the defeated will disappears. There was a deathly silence, and there was no sound around, except for the sound of the cold wind blowing. Despite the scorching sun, there is still a chilling atmosphere in the team building of the 11th team. This feeling can't be said, but it makes people feel desperate. There is no more ridicule and ridicule, no more jealousy and abuse, only the indescribable shock permeates my heart. Uchiha Madara retracted Zanpakuto without even taking another look at the corpse lying on the ground. From the moment he took back Zanpakuto, his identity has changed. No longer a rookie, but the 7th seed of the 11th team. Just when the atmosphere solidified like ice and snow, Rizen's hurried footsteps broke the silence. A tall figure appeared at the door of the 11th team's team building. He has short brown-black hair and a black eye on a tall nose. With the bangs covering his forehead, and the gentle smile on his lips all the time, this man's first instinct is that he is an honest, gentle and kind-hearted person. Sensing someone appearing, Mole City Kenpachi turned around and asked, so it's you, Aizen Sosuke, are you going to the 11th team? Aizen gently pushed his eyes, bowed humbly, and smiled respectfully, ah, that's right, Captain Mole City. I'm following the captain's order, and I want to invite you to our 5th team. I see, I didn't expect that guy to take the initiative to find me. Mole City Kenpachi shrugged, seemingly surprised. However, no one noticed a subtle change in the expression of Uchiha Madara standing behind him. When Madara saw Aizen for the first time, what Ichimaru Jin once said immediately came to mind. That's a guy who's really good at disguising, you know it the second you see him. Although Aizen is perfect, Uchiha Madara still sees the clues. So it was him, the man who made Jin kill himself and hurt Rengoku. I didn't expect to see you so soon. Aizen Sosuke. Being good at disguising is really a terrible method. What an unpredictable guy. Aizen Sosuke. Uchiha Madara didn't change his face, and didn't show any abnormality, but he deeply remembered Aizen's appearance. A gentle smile, a kind smile, a humble attitude, and a respectful gesture. Through the thick glasses, the sincere and humble eyes are reflected, which is pleasing to the eye. In any case, Aizen Sosuke seems so easygoing and kind, even with a hint of honesty. On the surface, no one would associate him with ruthlessness. However, camouflage is often so wonderful. In this world, there is no real truth at the beginning, nor any lies and deceit. Yeah, when all things exist in this world, they only think that the favorable facts they see are true. Well, they have been deceived by the pretense. Then, Captain Mole City, I will retire first. Aizen always had a humble and shy smile on his face, and the black on the bridge of his nose reflected an inexplicable light under the scorching sun. Aizen, it's rare to come to the 11th team. Why don't you come in and have a drink? Have a drink with me. Seeing this good old man recognized by jingling court, Mole City Kenpachi had to secretly praise him. With Aizen's personality, it's really rare to be able to get along well with everyone in any team. Aizen turned his body slightly, a gentle smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, he shook his head in embarrassment, and said, Captain Mole City, please don't make things difficult for me. You know I can't handle alcohol. Oh, I knew you would answer like that. Mole City Kenpachi shrugged helplessly. He had to feel that Aizen Sosuke was really dedicated to his responsibilities. In order not to make mistakes in team affairs, he never drank alcohol and kept sober all the time. It's really a blessing that the 5th team can have such a responsible person like you. Mole City Kenpachi glanced around, looked at the pure men of the 11th team, and showed a wry smile helplessly. The captain of the Mole City, I am a member of Gote 13, and I just do what I should do. The bangs in front of the forehead fluttered under the breeze, the face looked so sincere and upright, but the eyes under the glasses were so soft. Aizen Sosuke, although not too strong, has no plans, has an easy-going personality, and is loyal to the Soul Society. This is the impression Aizen brings to everyone. More importantly, with the passage of time, this impression has become deeply ingrained and deeply imprinted in everyone's mind. Aizen smiled slightly, and was about to turn around and leave immediately, but when he saw Shino Hayakawa lying in a pool of blood, he frowned slightly, and asked in surprise, Captain Mole City, what's going on here? It seems that the death of a companion is a very unexpected thing for Aizen Sosuke. Ah, it's not a big deal, it's just a fair challenge, and it's not the first time this has happened in the 11th team. Mole City Kenpachi said lightly, any challenge will always be accompanied by sacrifice. This is like a ladder leading to the clouds. Only by stepping on countless blood and corpses can one climb to the top of the clouds. Mole City Kenpachi seemed to suddenly remember something, turned around quickly, and said, really, Aizen. I almost forgot to introduce the new members of our 11th team to you. Mole City Kenpachi looked at Uchiha Madara and said with a smile, this is our new team member, but it seems that you should be called the 7th seat, Byakuya Madara. Aizen, don't think that Uchiha Madara is an inexperienced rookie, he graduated from Mauling Academy in just 1 year, but he is a once-in-a-century genius. Mole City Kenpachi has made no secret of his admiration for Uchiha Madara. He kept praising Uchiha Madara in front of Aizen, which deeply attracted the latter's attention to Madara. Aizen stepped up to Uchiha Madara, smiled gently and said, your name is Uchiha Madara, right? My name is Aizen Sosuke, and I'm a member of the 5th division. Please give me your advice. Uchiha Madara responded calmly, did not say any more words, and did not show any abnormalities. The two greeted each other just out of courtesy, just like ordinary friends meeting for the first time. Aizen and Uchiha Madara looked at each other, and both could see the peace deep in each other's pupils, as if they were just two strangers who met by chance. Then, I will take my leave first, Captain Mole City. Aizen smiled heartily, and after getting the consent of Mole City Kenpachi, he turned and walked towards the gate of the 11th team building. Aizen turned his back to everyone, and when he walked to the gate, he gently raised his glasses, an inexplicable light flashed in his eyes, and he murmured in a low voice, Uchiha Madara. When Aizen disappeared, the 11th team returned to the previous suffocating atmosphere, and everyone's attention was once again shifted to Hayakawa Shino, who was lying in a pool of blood. The unbelievable scene caused waves in everyone's hearts. To everyone's surprise, Uchiha Madara won the fair matchup. A student who just graduated from the Junyang Lingyuan Academy was able to defeat the long-established 7th seat. If you don't witness it yourself, no one will think it's a fantasy. It's a pity that the facts are in front of you, but you have to believe them. A showdown that was supposed to have no suspense ended in an unexpected ending. A battle that was thought to be able to suppress the enthusiasm of the newcomers, but ended at the painful price of the veterans' lives. This matchup changed everyone's minds, and it changed the perception of Uchiha Madara. The weak eat the strong, and the strength is respected. Uchiha Madara, though only a rookie, is an arrogance qualified to keep Jong in front of them. Convinced everyone, the result of this duel is obvious, so I don't think I need to say more. Mole City Kenpachi came to Uchiha Madara, patted him on the shoulder encouragingly, and said loudly, "From now on, Uchiha Madara will be the 7th seed of the 11th team." Chapter 91. Became the 7th seed of the 11th team, unveiled the mystery of Gote 13, and everything returned to calm. After becoming a chief officer, apart from taking on the corresponding duties, there is no difference in practice from ordinary team members. Day after day, practice remains the same. Perhaps because of the talent shown, the members of the 11th team who were originally repulsed in their hearts gradually accepted Uchiha Madara. They admired this man with a cold appearance, especially his attitude of pursuing strength was appreciated by many people. In their minds, Uchiha Madara is a mysterious man, as if shrouded in a veil of mystery. In a blink of an eye, 3 months passed. In the past 3 months, Uchiha Madara has been fully integrated into the 11th team, and his seat has changed from 7th to 5th, and he is sought after and respected by the 11th team members. As a gifted talent, 3 months is enough for Uchiha Madara to make progress by leaps and bounds. Jingling court, Shihuan nobleman. In one of the hidden houses, there were constant sounds of movement, as if 2 people were fighting. Uchiha Madara, I'm going to do my best. King's Lander, the mask of flesh and blood, Vientian, fluttering wings, and the name of human beings. Burning heat and strife, across the sea, turn south, and move forward. Hado's 31 red cannon. A brilliant fire burst out suddenly, and immediately exploded, violent energy spread to every corner of the room. Even the singing state is still not enough, Miss Yi. In the room, 2 figures faced each other far away, and there was a thick fog formed between the 2 of them due to the explosion of the red cannon. Uchiha Madara, Shihuin Yoruichi. It seems that your progress is getting bigger and bigger, even the red cannon in the singing state can be easily blocked. Yoruichi gave a thumbs up and smiled appreciatively. When she learned that Uchiha Madara had become the chairman of the 11th squad, she took the initiative to come to the door on the 3rd day. Originally, Uchiha Madara became friends with Yoruichi through Urahara Kazuki when he was still at Maoling Academy. Although they are not close friends, they have a harmonious relationship, which left a CCCJ deep impression. As we all know, the noble Shihuin has always served as the captain of the 2nd Division, and even concurrently served as the commander-in-chief of the secret maneuver. And Yoruichi, as the 22nd head of the Shihuin nobles, naturally inherited the previous tradition and became the vice-captain of the 2nd team. Whether it is strength or ability, Yoruichi is safe to be the vice-captain. More importantly, Shihuin's predecessor made an important decision. Once Yoruichi can adapt to the position of vice-captain, he will give up the position of captain, and then Yoruichi will become the new captain of the 2nd team. It can be said that it is a certainty that he has become the captain of the 2nd team. That's just Yoruichi-san's mercy. Uchiha Madara smiled slightly. In front of Yoruichi, he restrained his usual coldness and would not appear restrained. And if this scene is seen by members of the 11th team, they will definitely be so shocked that their jaws will drop. You, don't be humble in front of me. Shihuin Yoruichi shrugged helplessly. He was obviously a rare genius, but kept a low profile all the time. In the process of fighting against Uchiha Madara, Yoruichi could clearly feel the power possessed by Uchiha Madara. But, in addition to this power, there are more powers hidden. Although Yoruichi doesn't know why Yuzebo Madara deliberately hides his strength, she is sure that Uchiha Madara already has the strength to become the 3rd seat. Gee, it's such a headache to hang out with you geniuses. Not just you, but Urahara Kazuki as well. Shihuin Yoruichi complained melancholy, but without any jealousy. Urahara Kazuki. How is he? He should have graduated from Mao. W. Uchiha Madara couldn't help but think of the figure who was doing nothing. Although Urahara Kazuki has extraordinary talent, he has always been lazy and did not give his best, so his achievements in spiritual practice are not as good as Uchiha Madara. He has passed the graduation examination, and it is estimated that he will come to Gote 13 in a few days. Yoruichi smiled with great interest. Urahara Kazuki originally planned to enjoy his college time for a few more years. Perhaps he was stimulated by you, so he finally took it seriously. Although he didn't graduate in a year, he shocked the whole world. Really go to the spiritual academy. Uchiha Madara said with a smile. It's not surprising, he himself has a strongest brain, it's just that he is too lazy. Tisk tisk, when he also comes to Soul Society, the three of us can continue training. Although he has a noble status and a prominent position, Shihuin Yoruichi doesn't have many close friends. At least in Shihuin Yoruichi's eyes, Uchiha Madara is a dear friend. By the way, apart from training today, I also want to introduce a friend to you, and I also want to get rid of you. Shihuin Yoruichi couldn't help feeling a headache when he thought of one thing he had to do every day. What's the matter? Uchiha Madara frowned slightly. If even Yoruichi felt this was difficult, it must be a very difficult task. Yoruichi took a breath helplessly, and sighed. Death is actually just a trivial matter, not difficult, but I feel very boring when I see that expressionless little face. Yoruichi complained. As one of the nobles of the Soul Society, Shihuin and Kuchiki have a close relationship. As Shihuin's next family, I have the obligation to teach Kuchiki's next family. It's that nasty brat, Byakuya Kuchiki. Yoruichi complained. You must also know that I have a talent in Shunpo, so my responsibility is to simply practice Shunpo with Byakuya Kuchiki. But I'm almost suffocated to death with that paralyzed face every day. So get rid of you, and teach Byakuya Kuchiki Shunpo instead of me this time. Uchiha Madara was stunned. He didn't expect that Yoruichi's request was to teach Shunpo. Although not disgusted, Uchiha Madara is not very interested in this matter. It's just out of friendship, Uchiha Madara finally agreed. At this moment, the door of the house was pushed open, and a graceful figure walked into the house. Kai. The door of the house was opened suddenly, and a graceful figure walked into the house. He has short black hair and a waist-length red apron-shaped dress with swirl patterns on the clothes and a tattoo of the word, Kong, on his left arm. Because the apron is a little slim, but the pair of big white rabbits on the chest are restrained, and they look turbulent. This woman has a pair of bright big eyes, coupled with that fiery figure, she looks extraordinarily attractive. Oh, it's finally here. If I remember correctly, you're half an hour behind the agreed time, Shiba Kuzuru. Although Yoruichi was dissatisfied with Shiba Kongzuru's late arrival, he didn't mean to blame him at all. Instead, he introduced enthusiastically. Come here, it happens that there are all people today, let me introduce you to each other. He is. Shiba Kong looked at Uchiha Madara closely, as if he wanted to find some information from the memory bank, but he had no memory. Uchiha Madara has always been proud and low-key. Apart from practicing on weekdays, he seldom leaves the 11th team building, so, rarely does he know him. Uchiha Madara, he's the one I keep telling you about, the man. Yoruichi said with great interest. How about it, is it more perfect than you imagined? Shiba Kong opened his mouth wide in surprise, and said in disbelief, he is the once-in-a-century genius who is famous in Rukongai. Those bright eyes kept looking at Uchiha Madara, as if they wanted to see his details, but unfortunately they saw that cold face. Yoruichi came to Shiba Konghe's side, put his arms around her neck tightly, and whispered in his ear, yes, it is him. What's the matter, don't you usually clamor to make friends with others? Why don't you meet when you meet? Dare to take the initiative. Faced with Yoruichi's teasing, Shiba Kuzuru's cheeks flushed red, she pushed Yoruichi away, and said coldly, who said I dare not take the initiative? Shiba Kong came to Uchiha Madara, raised his head, stared at Uchiha Madara's eyes, stretched out his arms and said seriously, my name is Shiba Kongzuru, please give me your advice in the future. Although Uchiha Madara had a cold expression on his face, but Shiba Kuzuru not only didn't mind at all, but he took the initiative to show his favor to him anyway. To be reasonable, Uchiha Madara is tall and has an extraordinary appearance, and he exudes a sense of Haki's full self-confidence. In addition, he is dubbed a rare genius in a century. No matter where he appears, he will become the most eye-catching and dazzling that star. After a moment of silence, the corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth finally showed an arc. He stretched out his hand to hold Shiba Kuzuru's hand, and said with a smile, "My name is Uchiha Madara." The immature palm was held by the big hand. Feeling the temperature transmitted from the palm, Shiba Konghei's face flushed, and his heart was beating. She lowered her head shyly, quickly retracted her arms, and returned to Yoruichi again. "Tisk tisk, I didn't expect that, Shiba Kuzuru, you also have such a side, it really opened my eyes." Yoruichi continued to add oil and vinegar to the side, which made Shiba Kuzuru's cheeks even more flushed, adding a bit of charm to her invisibly. "Okay, let's get down to business. Let me introduce you to Shiba Kuzuru Madara." Yoruichi coughed lightly, and said, "Shiba Kuzuru is my younger brother, and his identity is also unusual. He is a member of the Shiba family." The Shiba family? Could it be that? Seemingly considering Shiba Kuzuru's feelings, Uchiha Madara didn't say the second half of the sentence. Yoruichi seemed to have guessed what Uchiha Madara wanted to say. His eyes darkened, and he sighed. "That's right, he was one of the 5 nobles of the Soul Society, but it's a pity that he has fallen. The Shiba family has been passed down to her generation, and it has completely declined. Even the head of the previous generation has passed away." Yoruichi patted Shiba Kuranaku's shoulder, comforting, "Sorry, it brought back your sad memories again." Although Shiba Konghei's eyes were dim, she still forced a smile on her face and said firmly, "It's okay, I've gradually gotten used to it over the years. Besides, it's a well-known fact that Shiba's family has fallen into the Soul Society, so you don't have to worry about it, superior." Shiba Kong smiled and said, "Besides, although the eldest brother is a genius, I believe he will be able to become a captain in the future, and the Shiba family will once again achieve glory under his leadership." Yoruichi nodded and agreed. "You're right, Shiba Kyan is a recognized genius. It is said that Captain Jashiro admires him very much and wants to train him to be the next captain of Division 13. "Zong family?" Uchiha Madara asked. "Does the Shiba family still have a branch house?" Uchiha Madara can't help but think of the Hyuga family, which is also divided into the main family and branch house. It's just that the difference between the main family and the branch house is too weak and huge, and the fate of family members is also very different. Shiba Kong nodded. "Yes, although our Shiba family has declined, the branch house is still very strong." Yoruichi continued. "Of course, that guy Shiba Yixin has the strength to be the captain, but that guy is always out of tune, so he seems unreliable." Shiba Kong smiled awkwardly. "Although uncle is unreliable, he is a very responsible person. He just doesn't pay attention to reputation. It doesn't matter to him whether he is the captain or not." Uchiha Madara listened silently at the side, and had a certain understanding of the Shiba family in her heart. He still has a certain understanding of Shiba Kyan. That guy has a small reputation in the Soul Society. However, Madara doesn't know anything about Shiba. If she really has captain-level strength, why is she so low-key? Shiba with one heart. Uchiha Madara didn't change his face, but he had already engraved this in his heart. Everyone who can become a captain is not a simple character, let alone a guy with a mysterious origin. In this way, with Yoruichi's bridge matchmaking, Uchiha Madara and Shiba Kuzuru also became friends. Although Uchiha Madara remained silent most of the time, Shiba Kuzuru didn't mind and instead showed enthusiasm. As night fell, when the 3 of them left one after another, the next day came in the blink of an eye. This day is not ordinary for Uchiha Madara, because he is going to the Kuchiki family to fulfill Yoruichi's entrustment. In the early morning, the bright sun shines on the earth, and the houses in Jinglingting are covered with a layer of brilliance. Uchiha Madara left the 11th team building and walked alone in the aisle. Because it was too early, the popularity of the 13th division was not strong, and most of the players were still immersed in their dreams. Crossing aisles, Uchiha Madara soon came near the 2nd team. Since the Kuchiki family is relatively close to the 2nd team, the 2nd team is a must. After a brief glance at the team building, Uchiha Madara was about to leave. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind him. "Uchiha Madara, I didn't expect you to be so punctual." Uchiha Madara turned around and saw Yoruichi walking away from a distance with a smirk on his face. Thinking of not having to face the paralyzed face of Kuchiki Byakuya again, Yoruichi seemed to be in a particularly good mood, and she smiled. Madara, it seems that you can't wait. It seems that you want something from me, right, Miss Yoruichi? In fact, Uchiha Madara didn't object. On the contrary, he also wanted to visit the Kuchiki family. As one of the four nobles of the Soul Society, the Kuchiki family, like the Shihuan family, also occupies an important position in Gotei 13. The sixth team is the team passed down from generation to generation by the Kuchiki family. Each captain of the sixth team is also held by the head of the Kuchiki family. The current captain of the 6th division, Kuchiki Yinling. You have to be careful, that kid is not easy to deal with. Thinking of that cold face, Yoruichi couldn't help frowning. No matter how she teased, Byakuya Kuchiki always maintained a strict style. But Yoruichi stared at Uchiha Madara's face closely, and smiled happily. He is somewhat similar to you. He is also a genius and has the same ruthless appearance. But you are more interesting than that kid. Fearing that Uchiha Madara would repent, Yoruichi waved his hand and turned to leave. The second team has something to deal with, so I will leave first. Good luck, Uchiha Madara. Looking at the back of Yoruichi's fading away, Uchiha Madara has an intuition that with Yoruichi's behavior style, maybe he will do the poisonous Soul Society thing in the future. Acting uniquely, regardless of the shackles of nobles and Gotei 13 status, this is not only Yoruichi's strengths but also her shortcomings. Like a double-edged sword, there will always be a day when you will hurt yourself. Leaving Gotei 13, Uchiha Madara gradually came to the east of Seireitei. Because it is a place where nobles live, most of the buildings here are more luxurious. Compared with those randomly built houses in Rukongai, it can even be called a high-end atmosphere. When he reached the end of the street, the Kuchiki family's mansion came into view. It was a huge manor, and there were many luxurious houses standing in the manor. As the oldest nobleman of the Soul Society, just looking at Uchiha Madara from the outside can feel the feeling of an old cantonment. Although the mansion is heavily guarded, Uchiha Madara is not worried about being obstructed because Yoruichi has greeted the Kuchiki family in advance. After revealing his identity, Uchiha Madara came to this ancient manor almost without any hindrance. Under the leadership of the servant, Uchiha Madara traveled through most of the manor all the way, and finally came to the practice field. It was an empty field, and there were many unique facilities in the field, which seemed to be specially built for training. When Uchiha Madara shifted his eyes to the center of the field, he found a slightly immature figure. It was a thin young man with a wooden sword in his hand. He had a ponytail and bangs floating on his forehead. Although the appearance is sharp and angular, there is a kind of coldness between the brows that makes people thousands of miles away. A thin white shirt was plastered on the body, and a dark green gown was worn on the lower body. This kind of mature samurai attire was incompatible with the boy's immature face. He is the grandson of Kuchiki Yinling and the next head of the Kuchiki family, Byakuya Kuchiki. In fact, according to normal circumstances, Byakuya Kuchiki is not eligible to succeed. The next head of the family should go to his father, Kuchiki Aojun. Although Kuchiki Aojun has the innate talent of the Kuchiki family, but because of his weak constitution, he is not suitable for fighting. Even so, Kuchiki Aojun became the vice captain because of the oath, I have to be the next head of the family. It's a pity that Kuchiki Kengshin's physical condition is getting worse and worse every day. Under such circumstances, Kuchiki Yinling made the worst plan and decided to train Byakuya Kuchiki to become the next master. Therefore, as the future 28th generation head of the Kuchiki family, Byakuya Kuchiki cultivated a strict character from an early age. The moment Uchiha Madara stepped onto the training ground, Byakuya Kuchiki's self-glow lingered on his body. You are the 5th seed of the 11th team, Uchiha Madara. A cold voice came out of his mouth, lacking the emotion that this age group should have, but a little more resolute. That's right, I was entrusted by Ms. Yoruichi to be your new mentor. Uchiha Madara was also observing Byakuya Kuchiki, and when he felt Byakuya Kuchiki's eyes, he was stunned. He could feel that this gaze was not as cold as it appeared on the surface, but that it concealed a trace of emotion and shouldered a responsibility. Suddenly, Uchiha Madara thought of his younger brother, Uchiha Izuna. Back then, Izuna also had such a vision. For the family and survival, she was willing to shoulder heavy responsibilities and turned into a cold person. It's really similar. Uchiha took a deep breath, suppressed the fluctuating emotions, and said, according to Ms. Yoruichi's description, you seem to have practiced kendo with Captain Kuchiki since childhood. How about starting today's lesson with kendo? Uchiha Madara took a rare initiative as he saw Izuna in Byakuya Kuchiki. TCH, it's not that easy to become my mentor. Byakuya Kuchiki said proudly. Both Grandpa and Yoruichi are the captains of Gote 13, and you have only 5 seats, why teach me? So that's it really is an interesting kid. The corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth curled up, he picked up a wooden sword from the ground, and said calmly, it seems that I must get your approval. Uchiha Madara picked up the wooden sword and said calmly, little devil, it seems that I must show strength that convinces you. Humph. Byakuya Kuchiki snorted proudly, and didn't take Uchiha Madara seriously. Although he is young, he has perfectly inherited the blood of the nobility, and there is a good reiatsu flowing through his body. Shoot, if your wooden sword can slam my clothes, then I will leave by myself. In Uchiha Madara's view, this is just a boring game that doesn't even need to be serious. However, what he said annoyed the arrogant Byakuya Kuchiki. One of the 5 seats dared to say such nonsense, even Yoruichi didn't dare to say such a thing in front of me. Byakuya Kuchiki held up the wooden sword, and disappeared instantly with a swipe sound. The next moment, he quietly appeared behind Uchiha Madara, and the wooden sword slammed down fiercely. Too slow. Are you swinging your sword into the air? Byakuya Kuchiki's pupils contracted suddenly, and at some point, the figure of Uchiha Madara appeared behind him. What's going on here? Wasn't he still in front of me a second ago? Byakuya Kuchiki frowned and held the wooden sword with his backhand, stabbing fiercely at the back. However, this time the slash still failed. Little devil, I'm here. Uchiha Madara's voice sounded behind him again, and Byakuya Kuchiki gritted his teeth and said angrily, I will definitely kill you. Being teased one after another, Byakuya Kuchiki turned pale with anger. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't touch Uchiha Madara's body. Gradually, Byakuya Kuchiki's heart sank slightly. He was shocked to find that Uchiha Madara's shunpo was not inferior to Yoruichi at all. How is it possible? Yoruichi is recognized by the Soul Society as the most talented person in shunpo. Despite the facts, Byakuya Kuchiki decided to give one last try. However, when he turned around, a finger was on his body. It's time for this boring game to end, kid. Hado 1, rush. With a thought, Uchiha Madara shot out a shock wave from his fingertips, instantly knocking Byakuya Kuchiki into the air. Boom! Byakuya Kuchiki flew upside down, then fell to the ground in embarrassment. Hateful! Byakuya Kuchiki struggled to get up from the ground, feeling the pain from his body. He gritted his teeth, but did not try again. Byakuya Kuchiki looked at Uchiha Madara coldly, was silent for a moment, and finally said, are you really just 5 seats? At this moment, apart from suspicion, his eyes were more convinced. Although Uchiha didn't show much strength, but with shunpo who is not inferior to Yoruichi, this alone is enough. What do you think? Just one sentence completely dispelled Byakuya Kuchiki's doubts. I see. Byakuya Kuchiki let go of his preconceptions and said sincerely, then please teach me swordsmanship. Although Byakuya Kuchiki is proud, he is not a conceited person. After feeling the strength of Uchiha Madara, he also had to let go of his arrogance and practice piously. After all, Byakuya Kuchiki is a rigorous person, and the reason why he rejected him was because he didn't want people with no strength to teach him, and everything he did was to gain strength faster. Yes, you have a strong character. But, you are far behind that boy Obito. Uchiha Madara came to Byakuya Kuchiki, raised his wooden sword and asked, little ghost, do you know what the chopping technique represents? The slashing technique is to defend the honor of Shinigami. In front of honor, there is nothing that cannot be cut, that's all. With the noble blood flowing in his body, Byakuya Kuchiki's belief is to defend the honor of Shinigami and defend the status of nobility. Is this your perception? What a pity, it is impossible to cut down the enemy with that kind of sword. Uchiha Madara shook his head and denied, whether it's honor or status, this kind of defending behavior is like a monkey fishing for the moon. What you can see in the end is just the reflection in the water. Even if you try your best to catch it, it will sink to the bottom of the sea. Such behavior is ridiculous. With burning eyes, Uchiha Madara said, the real slashing technique is to prove the existence of power. Look up, whether it's the blue sky, floating clouds, or flying birds, everything is due to history existence of the platform. This world is built on power. Byakuya Kuchiki was stunned. He reflected on what Uchiha Madara said, his face gradually became solemn. Perhaps compared to the ethereal honor, power is more obvious. At this moment, a steady footstep sounded. Uchiha Madara turned around, but saw an old figure. A wrinkled face like a chrysanthemum, long silver white hair. The white robe on his body showed his identity. Captain of the 6th Division, Kuchiki Yinling. Grandfather. Byakuya Kuchiki smiled, and only when he saw Grandpa, he would not put on a paralyzed face. Byakuya, how is the effect of today's practice, are you satisfied? Kuchiki Yinling's kind smile shows her unsparing love for Byakuya Kuchiki. Byakuya Kuchiki said seriously, although the training time is not long, I gained a lot of insights. Good. Kuchiki Yinling looked at Uchiha Madara, nodded and said, you are the genius who successfully graduated from Shino Spiritual Academy in just 1 year. Yoruichi once mentioned you to me, and you really deserve your reputation. Captain Kuchiki is serious. Although Uchiha Madara is proud in his heart, he still chooses to restrain himself in front of the captain. In addition to having a good impression of Byakuya Kuchiki, it is more because of his false identity. Unless he has unscrupulous strength, Uchiha Madara will keep a low profile and be cautious until the day he can compete with the entire Gote 13. Since Byakuya has recognized you, and Yoruichi is really busy with team affairs, we can't waste her time. Kuchiki Yinling pondered for a moment, and said solemnly, if you don't dislike it, you will be Byakuya's mentor from today on. What do you think of this proposal? Invited by Kuchiki Silver Bell, Uchiha Madara did not refuse. One is because Yoruichi commissioned it, and the other is because Uchiha Madara is interested in the kid Byakuya Kuchiki. Otherwise, no matter what status, as long as Madara is unwilling, even the captain will not help. In this way, under Yoruichi's matchmaking, Uchiha Madara accidentally crossed paths with Kuchiki nobles. After leaving the manor of the Kuchiki nobles, Uchiha Madara was walking on the main street of Seireitei, but happened to meet Shiba Kuzuru. Uchiha Madara, please wait. Shiba Kong trotted all the way, panting heavily. It's you. Uchiha Madara turned around, only to find that it was the newly acquainted Shiba Kuzuru, who was a little surprised. To be fair, Shiba's house is not in this area, why would she come here again? Hey, it's not that Griffin Boy is running around. In order not to worry Brother Kyan, I had no choice but to come out and look for him. Shiba Kongzuru sighed helplessly. His younger brother Shiba Ganzuru has a bold and rude personality since he was a child. He likes to mess around with some street gangsters, so he is always reprimanded by Shiba Kongzuru. Over time, Shiba Griffin also developed a rebellious mentality. The more he is not allowed, the more he loves to mess around. However, he respects his elder brother Shiba Kyan from the bottom of his heart. Once Shiba Kyan speaks, no matter how rebellious Shiba Griffin is, he will not dare to mess around. I see, Uchiha Madara asked. So did you find his people? Okay, Shiba Kong sighed. I found it, but I like to be alone even when I go home. I'm really a troublesome guy. But, what about you? Why are you here? Uchiha Madara responded, according to Yoruichi's entrustment, temporarily acting as Byakuya Kuchiki's mentor. Really, I heard that Byakuya Kuchiki is a tsundere little guy. You must have a headache today. As Yoruichi's childhood friend, Shiba Kuzuru can hear Yoruichi's complaints every once in a while. If it weren't for Byakuya Kuchiki's facial paralysis, Yoruichi would be happy to face a poker face with no expression all day long. It's nothing, it's just that the brat is a little arrogant. Uchiha Madara shook his head, but didn't take this little matter to heart. In his opinion, Byakuya Kuchiki is just an arrogant brat. People, there will always be times when they show their sharpness, and at this time, the state of mind is the most immature and the most easily shaken. However, once the waves can be kept calm, then a heart of the strong will gradually form. Over time, remitters will also be born. Tisk tisk, it really is you who are more magnanimous, and you can tolerate that kid. Shiba Kuchiki praised, but speaking of it, Byakuya Kuchiki is somewhat similar to you. Uchiha Madara smiled, neither acknowledging nor refuting. Shiba Kong looked up at the sky was getting dark, and night was coming. Uchiha Madara, it's getting dark. Why don't I treat you to a bowl of ramen? Shiba Kuzuru stared into Madara's eyes and said seriously. Eat ramen. Uchiha Madara was stunned. In fact, he didn't plan to have dinner, he just wanted to go back to the 11th team's dormitory to rest. What's the matter, don't you want to? A look of regret flashed in Shiba Konghe's eyes. Let's go. After thinking for a while, Uchiha Madara decided to accept Shiba Kuzuru's invitation. After all, the two are considered friends, and there is nothing to do when they return to the team building. I'll take you to a newly opened ramen restaurant. The taste there is very authentic. Shiba Konghehuan CCAI smiled happily, and hurriedly walked ahead to lead the way. Although the two have known each other for only one day, perhaps because Yoruichi often mentioned Uchiha Madara, Shiba Kuzuru is not unfamiliar with Madara but has a sense of familiarity. If Uchiha Madara rejected her just now, then Shiba Kuzuru had a premonition that maybe her heart would be lost. It's an indescribable feeling. Soon, under the leadership of Shiba Kong, the two came to a ramen restaurant with a small decoration area. The simple decoration reveals an easygoing atmosphere, coupled with the warm-colored lighting rendering, it makes people feel a sense of confusion. Not long after, 2 steaming bowls of ramen were placed on the table, full of fragrance, which whetted the appetite. Gulu. Suddenly, there was a sound from Uchiha Madara's abdomen. Obviously, Madara can't resist the temptation of good food. Shiba Kong covered his mouth and smiled. Look at you, you must be very hungry. She picked up the chopsticks and said with a smile, then let's start. Okay. At this moment, Uchiha Madara's coldness subsided. In this rare opportunity, he also let go of everything and enjoyed this quiet moment to the fullest. In a trance, Uchiha Madara seemed to return to that carefree age when she was a child. How nostalgic this feeling is, but unfortunately, due to the war, everything was destroyed. In the laughter, time gradually passed. Although Uchiha Madara plays the role of listening most of the time. But Shiba Kuzuru still felt that the time passed very quickly. Eventually, the pair's first date ended. After stepping out of the ramen restaurant, it was time to say goodbye. Shiba Kongzuru waved to Uchiha Madara and said with a smile, Uchiha Madara, thank you very much for being with me tonight. This night passed so quickly. If there is a chance, I hope to come here to taste ramen next time. Well, I certainly wouldn't mind if I had the chance. Madara nodded slightly, and did not refuse Shiba Kuzuru's invitation. It's not because she has a crush on Shiba Kuzuru, it's just purely because she enjoys a quiet moment. The two separated, and Tuzi returned to his residence. After returning to his own room in the 11th team building, Uchiha Madara sat cross-legged on the ground. The sharp zanpakudo is placed on the legs, and the blade is smoothed with both palms. Uchiha Madara concentrated her thoughts and closed her eyes in anticipation. Soon, he entered the state of knife zen again. 3 months have passed since the last time I entered the zanpakudo mental space. This time, Uchiha intends to take the opportunity to awaken Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Madara closed his eyes. At this moment, he had nothing else to do, and the only thing in his mind was the place that went deep into his soul. In a trance, the soul seems to be released. When Uchiha Madara opened his eyes again, he found that he came to another dimension. What catches the eye is the scorching sun hanging high in the sky, shining brightly, casting a layer of afterglow on everything. The wind blows quietly, and the clouds float slowly. The majestic waterfall is like a ladder hanging high in the sky, and the clear and translucent spring water is like a river falling from the sky. Tick, tick. Due to the huge impact of the waterfall, it splashed onto the huge statues on both sides from time to time. Those 2 men in armor and one-handed seals are like titans standing upright, possessing the aura to shock the soul. Valley of the End. Sure enough, I'm still here. Uchiha Madara was walking on one of the forest trails. He looked up at the 2 huge statues, feeling mixed emotions. Even though it was not the first time he had come to this place that made him so dreamy, there would still be waves in his heart. Brush. Uchiha Madara jumped up and jumped on top of his statue, looking forward with firm eyes, as if waiting for something. Come out, I know you're already here. Uchiha Madara stood quietly. As expected, at the moment his voice fell, a black figure appeared on the statue of Senju Hashirama. Is it Hashirama? Uchiha Madara frowned slightly, because the opponent's face was covered by a black cloak, so he couldn't see clearly at all. It's me, big brother. Uchiha Izuna pulled down his cloak and smiled slightly. Unexpectedly, we will meet again after a year. Whether it's Senju Hashirama, or Uchiha Izuna, the grimness on Uchiha Madara's face dissipates only when he sees them. Especially for Izuna, I have a deep sense of guilt. Uchiha Madara asked, Izuna, why can't Hashirama be seen? Isn't he the soul of Zanpakuto? Big brother, you misunderstood. Uchiha Izuna shook his head, and said, I seem to have told you that I belong to the power of the void, and Senju Hashirama belongs to the power emperor of Shinigami. However, whether it's him or me, after all, it is the power born from the thoughts of your heart. Therefore, we all belong to a part of your soul. And the ruler of this space is not just Senju Hashirama, it can be me, or even you. Big brother, you have to remember that the power of the three of us is the same, that is your power what? Uchiha Madara nodded, and said, I see, so, Hashirama's wood style, or your Mangekyo Sharingan can be turned into my power. Of course, big brother. Uchiha Izuna smiled and said, our power is your power. It's not easy to get our power. Down with us, hit us with all your strength. Only in this way can you gain the power you want. Uchiha Izuna's eyes became sharp, like two sharp blades shining with cold light. He slowly took out the Zanpakuto, and the Reiatsu in his body erupted like a volcano, covering all directions. The incomparable fighting spirit, accompanied by the blade of glory, blooms at this moment. Nothing to do with family, nothing to do with family, nothing to do with fetters. Without any burden, without any thoughts. Only the purest battle. A battle for power. Sure enough, I still have to attack you, but I won't show mercy, Izuna. Uchiha Madara looked up excitedly, his eyes filled with fiery fighting intent. The blood in his body is boiling, as if every cell is burning crazily. Izuna, when you died, you left the power of my eyes, and now it's all over again. Uchiha Madara held Zanpakuto with his backhand, his blood was boiling, and he said, let's dance, let the flames destroy the fan. Red light shines, Reiatsu soars. Holding the huge Uchiha fan in his hand, the aura of Uchiha Madara climbed to the peak, and the majestic aura confronted the Izuna chamber. Shikai, you're not the only one who knows it, big brother. Uchiha Izuna also held Zanpakuto with his backhand, his eyes were burning, and his shout resounded throughout the space. Let's dance, Haoyan fan. Same blood, same Shikai, same Uchiwa fan. The same fate, but different winners and losers must be decided. Big brother, Haoyan Mishin has super strength. As long as you open your heart and give him strength, he will be even stronger. Uchiha Izuna shook his head and said regretfully, however, you who don't care about Zanpakuto at all, just blindly pursue the improvement of your own strength. For you like this, it's impossible to do that kind of thing. Hearing Izuna's words, Uchiha Madara's expression was dull, and he was stunned for a while. Yeah, I really haven't tried to understand Haoyan Mie fan. Zanpakuto is never a prop, each knife has its own name and therefore exists. But I also only know Zanpakuto's name, but don't understand it at all. Isn't that the same as not having a name? Don't care about Zanpakuto's name, what's the difference between not having a name? Uchiha Madara's fists gradually gathered and clenched suddenly. His gaze became firm and his will became unshakable. At this moment, he had a strong idea. I want to know and want to get all your power, Haoyan Mie fan. Let's fight together. The light flickered in the eyes, Uchiha Madara's eyes were burning, and his momentum rose in vain. Dazzling red light flashed on the Uchiha round fan, Uchiha Madara raised the round fan, and slashed forward with great momentum. Fire style, extinguish the fire. The red light condensed and turned into a hot flame, rolling towards Uchiha Izuna overwhelmingly. You don't need seals, you can use ninjutsu just by using the fan. It seems that you have initially mastered the ability of Haoyan to destroy the fan. Uchiha Izuna said in a deep voice, but this is not enough to defeat me, big brother. I will show you the true ability of Haoyan Mie fan. Izuna's palm pressed against the surface of the round fan, and suddenly, a burst of blazing strong light burst out from the three-pointed jade, pouring into his palm. Izuna closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, the three Guyu changed and turned into a human-shaped Guyu. Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Izuna's eyes were filled with a powerful pupil power, and there was a creepy fluctuation. Did you see it? This is the true ability of Hao Yan to destroy fans. You who blindly pursue external power have never imagined this scene. Uchiha Izuna's eyes became cold and ruthless, and the majestic Reiatsu surged wantonly from every corner of the space. Heavy, oppressive, unbearable. There was a suffocating atmosphere in the air. This atmosphere made the bones creak, the blood rolled violently, and the fighting spirit rose violently. Mangekyo Sharingan. Unexpectedly, the real ability of Hao Yan Mifan is to activate Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Madara was ecstatic, and he could even feel the power, 573, in Izuna's eyes at a close distance. This power makes him crazy, this power makes him intoxicated, this power makes him crazy. Big brother, you look trembling all over, are you afraid? Uchiha Izuna's eyes are cold, and he doesn't intend to show mercy. Izuna, I think you misunderstood. Fear can confuse people and eventually get lost. This is the wall. Walls can easily make a person give up his will. Listen, don't give up your will. You have to make it yours. Stepping stones. Uchiha's pupils suddenly changed, and three Tomo Sharingan emerged, a powerful pupil power emerged spontaneously. Uchiha Madara is covered in a red Reiatsu, as if radiating hot flames. In this suffocating darkness, there is no shadow. Shadows are servants of light, offspring of flames. Only the brightest fire. It's the one that brings out the darkest shadows. Come on, let's fight it out, Izuna. Uchiha Madara raised his round fan and slashed at Uchiha Izuna fiercely. No mercy. In this fight for power, the ending is either life or death. Only one party will fall, and the party will rest until death, there is no other choice. Boom. The two round fans collided fiercely, making a violent noise. Uchiha Izuna shook his head and said, "It's too slow, I have completely captured your tracks, and there is no escape in front of these eyes." Ha, that's how it is. Uchiha Madara's eyes were burning, and he said, "Izuna, if I hit you, I can get the pupil power of those eyes, I think that's what you mean." The huge round fan swung down again, accompanied by a roar that went deep into the soul. Then do my best to hit you. Uchiha Izuna shook his head, and said coldly, "Big brother, you seem to have become careless. Have you forgotten that in front of Mangekyo Sharingan, you can't approach rashly?" Izuna's pupils contracted suddenly, Guyu turned suddenly, and a hot breath gushed out suddenly. A black flame appeared out of nowhere, eerie and strange, accompanied by an indescribably terrifying high temperature. The space is distorted, the air burns, and wherever the black flame goes, everything is burned. The strongest physical attack, and the attack that can never be avoided, can only be used by people who have opened their eyes in Mangekyo Sharingan. Amaterasu. Big brother, I hate rain, but it rains in this world. Once your heart is shaken, the sky becomes cloudy, and when you're sad and lost, it's easy to rain. And that's the last thing I can touch. I think you can also understand that in this lonely world, being drenched in the rain is terrible. In order to stop the rain from falling, I will do my best to help you. If you want to believe it, whether it's me or Senju Hashirama, we absolutely. I will never let another drop of rain fall in this world. Sorry. Scarlet blood left from Uchiha Izuna's eyes, and his sight finally stayed on Uchiha Madara's body. Amaterasu black flames moved with the field of vision, suddenly condensed, and then rushed to Uchiha Madara from all directions. Black inflammation is like a cage. Imprison the body, imprison the mind, and even imprison life. This fight for power, when surrounded by black flames, was actually over. Cut off all fetters, annihilate all loneliness, and ultimately cannot win. What a pity. It's Amaterasu. Once possessed of the Mangekyo Sharingan, Uchiha Madara naturally knew the horror of Amaterasu. Unless the caster cancels it himself, it will never go out. Seeing the black flame approaching gradually, Uchiha Madara also felt a strong life and death crisis in his heart. At this time, Uchiha Izuna's voice sounded again. Big brother, do you know the difference between a king and a knight? There's only one answer. And that's instinct. Uchiha Izuna said with a smile. That is what people with the same ability need to show more powerful power, and what is necessary to become a king. Do not fight, pursue power, crush the enemy, tear the enemy apart, cut him to pieces. This is the absolute desire for fighting, and also the absolute pursuit of strength. 11. Have you forgotten? The ultimate, big love, power flowing in Uchiha's blood, that is a power enough to change all adversities. Because you haven't awakened this power, so at this moment, I am stronger than you. Uchiha Madara was stunned, and the black flames continued to enlarge in his eyes, which also symbolized the gradual approach of death. Am I really going to die? It's an ironic ending to die under the black flame of Amaterasu. Hashirama, if you see this scene, you will laugh at my powerlessness, right? Zanpakudo, Haoyan Mie fan. Power. Pursuit. Absolutely. I absolutely can't just die like this. That would not only be a physical defeat, but also a spiritual depravity. Be stronger, become stronger, bet everything, I must defeat him. At this moment, the three tomos in Uchiha Madara's eyes suddenly turned, and a hollow appeared in the center of the three tomo, connected end to end. Just before facing death, Uchiha Madara finally awakens Mangekyo Sharingan. At the same time, Amaterasu Black Flame is about to cover Uchiha Madara's body. At this critical moment, a burst of pupil power radiated, and because Zhao Haiyan stopped in midair. Inferno style, flame control. Inferno style, flame control. The moment Uchiha Madara's eyes opened, Amaterasu Black Flame seemed to be controlled by a mysterious force, and unexpectedly stagnated in midair. As this, flame control, Uchiha Izuna smiled with relief. It seems that you have awakened the power of Mangekyo Sharingan, and you are able to control Amaterasu Black Flame. The black flames burned ragingly, eroding the entire space overwhelmingly. Gradually, the temperature in the air rose sharply, and even the waterfall evaporated. The blood slid down Izuna's face, forming a thick bloodstain. Although his eyes were fixed on Uchiha Madara, Haiyan seemed to be blocked by an invisible moat, unable to advance or retreat. This power, Uchiha Madara lowered her head gradually, her body trembling constantly, but her aura kept rising. When the aura climbed to the fixed point, he suddenly raised his head and shouted ecstatically, "The powerful pupil power, this familiar feeling, really makes me, can't help but tremble." Because of the excitement, the blood boils, because of the excitement, the whole body trembles, and because of the excitement, the fighting spirit is strong. That is the desire for fighting, the pursuit of power, that is the heart of a strong man. Seeing the scene of black flames flying, it really makes people miss the past. Uchiha Madara held the Haoyan Mifan tightly, eyes burning, and said, "Izuna, apart from Hashirama, the only one who can compete with me on an equal footing is you. I will enjoy fighting with you on the road to my true dream." Quote, "However, you should understand that Amaterasu can't deal with me at all." Uchiha, waved the Haoyan fan, and the black flames all over the sky were controlled by his will, and instead kept gathering towards Madara's body. Under the mind control of Uchiha Madara, Amaterasu Black Flame condenses into a hard armor. Not only that, but in terms of appearance, he is almost exactly the same as before Urankar. Susanoo's second form. Everything seems to be back to the beginning, that terrible world where there is no sky, only killing, only blood, and only devouring. The most primitive killing hidden deep in the heart. False instinct. In the same troubled world, different souls are fighting for different directions in their hearts. No more sorrow for blood and carnage, no more tears for bones and corpses. Just to survive, to devour, to evolve. There is no meaning for Shu and Shu to deceive each other, but the killing is still going on, and it doesn't stop because of anyone's death. Kill and move forward until one party falls to end this bloody hunting game. I can finally fight with all my strength. Sure enough, only this body has the feeling of dancing. This is called fighting. Uchiha Madara covered his face with his palm, and slowly pulled it down. A mask formed of black flames appeared out of thin air, completely covering his face. At this moment, Uchiha Madara's state is very special. He can be called either a Jukas with Shinigami powers or Shinigami with hollow powers. In a trance, he seemed to have touched the unbreakable barrier between hollow and Shinigami. Ring and turn. Without any warning, the figure of Uchiha Madara suddenly appeared behind Izuna, and Hauyan Mishin struck his back sharply. Thorn. A bloodstain was torn from top to bottom, revealing the bones of the dead. Scarlet blood flowed continuously, staining Izuna's robe red. Izuna, I want to thank you for bringing out the primal and instinct hidden in my body, thank you for awakening the Mangekyo Sharingan, which helped me a lot. Uchiha Izuna turned his back to Madara, and despite the blood on his back, there was still a gratified smile on the corner of his mouth. Even if you are carrying an injury, even if you are enduring pain, even if you want to face your loved ones with swords, on the road of persistent pursuit, it doesn't matter. In order to help Uchiha Madara, to let him awaken his pupil power, and to give Madara a strong pupil power again, Izuna has no hesitation, and just like back then, he paid the price with his life. The black flames on Hauyan Mie Fan adhered to Izuna's back, and the scorching black flames continued to burn his body, devouring every cell in his body. That painful taste is tormenting. But for the sake of the heart, everything will be spared. Because of the heart, so hurt. Because of the heart, so the pain. Cherish it because of your heart. Because of the heart, so sacrifice. Because of my heart, I want to give everything for you. Many times, the choice is forced and helpless. There is no perfect choice, just one, slightly less desirable than the rest. Time passed bit by bit, and most of Uchiha Madara's body had been swallowed by black flames. He turned around, looked at Uchiha Madara sincerely, and smiled, "Don't blame me for choosing such a cruel way, big brother. Only in this way can you truly awaken Mangekyo Sharingan and truly master the Shikai of Hauyan Mie Fan." Izuna, even though Uchiha Madara's face is hidden under the black flame mask, his slightly sad expression can still be felt. Only at this moment, can you truly control the power of Hauyan Mie Fan. The figure gradually dimmed, and finally completely swallowed by the black flames, and Uchiha Izuna finally disappeared from Madara's vision. When Izuna disappeared for a moment, the Hauyan fan in his hand turned into a red light, pouring into Madara's round fan. The two forces merge, and the three curved jade inscribed on the fan becomes the Mangekyo pattern of Uchiha Madara. So this is the real power of Hauyan Mie Fan. Holding the Hauyan Mie Fan tightly in the palm of his hand, Uchiha Madara closed his eyes tightly in satisfaction, and then his figure was blurred and dim, disappearing like a breeze. There was silence all around, and there was no sound around. Suddenly, two figures appeared on the statue of Senju Hashirama. It turned out to be Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. Izuna, you did your best, and I think Madara also grasped the true power of Zanpakuto. Hashirama, this time is not easy. Senju Hashirama laughed, patted Izuna's shoulder hard, and said with a smile, if it wasn't like this, how could he easily awaken that power? Hashirama looked up at the sky and murmured in a low voice, Madara, the next time you come here, it's when we meet again. It's really exciting. Slowly opening his eyes, Uchiha Madara scanned the surrounding environment. It is still the familiar layout. Although the 11th team's dormitory is not luxurious, it is much better than Rukongai's environment. Apparently, the consciousness of Uchiha Madara returned to the present world again from Zanpakuto's spiritual space. In the dead of night, there was no movement around. There is an air of peace and tranquility lurking in the air. Compared with the magnificence in the spiritual space, the reality is more peaceful. It's just that Uchiha Madara doesn't reject such tranquility. Because whenever the night is quiet, it is always time to fall into contemplation. When he lowered his head, he found that Zanpakuto was no longer in a sealed state, but had become completely liberated. That said, Zanpakuto will always remain the Uchiha no matter what, similar to Kurosaki Ichigo's Butcher Shikai. However, this round fan has changed, it is no longer a three-curved jade pattern, but completely transformed into Uchiha Madara's Mangekyo Sharingan. In addition, when Uchiha Madara wants to perform fire-style ninjutsu, he can release it at will without seals. It turned out to be the original appearance of Hauyan Mishin. A satisfied smile appeared on the corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth. Perhaps the biggest gain from entering the soul space this time is Mangekyo Sharingan. The reason why the Uchiha clan shined in several ninja wars was because of Sharingan. So not every tribe can open Mangekyo Sharingan, but those who can have Mangekyo are not ordinary people. Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Sasuke, Uchiha Shisui, etc., are the top talents of Konoha Shinobi Village. Besides, the ability of Mangekyo Sharingan is what attracted Madara the most. Flame Control, Amaterasu. One is the inextinguishable black flame that burns everything, and the other is the pupil technique that can control the flame. With the blessing of these two kinds of pupil techniques, the power of Houdanshui will be greatly enhanced. Yamamoto Genryusai has the strongest fire element Zanpakuto. I don't know who is stronger and who is weaker after my Houyan Mishin meets Ryujin Jaka. A meaningful arc emerged from the corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth, and he closed his eyes again, quietly recovering his spiritual power. As night falls, time flies by like quicksand. The next morning, before the sun rose, Uchiha Madara was awakened by a commotion. How is this going? Uchiha Madara was surprised. Although he has been in the 11th team for 3 months, he basically has nothing to do on weekdays. Although the 11th team is known as the fighting team, and its main duty is to protect the safety of Jinglingting, but most of the time it is soy sauce. This is the first time this abnormal situation has happened. After tidying up briefly, Uchiha Madara rushed to the meeting room of the 11th team. On weekdays, the fan team's meetings are held here, but most of the time it is idle. Hurry up, Captain Mole City has something urgent to do today. What's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? I haven't woken up yet. The specifics are not clear. It seems that there was a murder case in Rukongai. Cut, isn't it just an ordinary murder case? There have been several cases before, so there may not be such a big movement. I heard that this murder was committed by a Shinigami. What? Shinigami killed people in Rukongai? That's a big deal. The 11th team was full of discussions, and everyone speculated about this emergency call along the way. Curiosity, apprehension, and doubts permeated everyone's hearts, making them involuntarily quicken their pace. 11-team conference room. Although the meeting room was very empty, there were already crowds of people at this time, and Nuoda's meeting room was full of people. Whether it is the chief officer or the ordinary team members, they all gathered here, and their eyes were fixed on Kenpachi, who was sitting in the first place. Mole City Kenpachi's face is gloomy, there is no smile on his face, only angry face. Seeing the appearance of their captain, the members of the 11th team didn't even dare to take a breath, for fear of encountering bad luck at this time. Ever since, there was a heavy and depressing atmosphere in the conference room of Nuoda. Every minute and every second passed, all the team members felt particularly tormented, the curiosity was constantly torturing them, but they couldn't speak. Quote. In the end, Mole City Kenpachi raised his head, glanced around, and said solemnly, You must be very surprised by this emergency call, right? Everyone couldn't help but nodded, eager to learn the truth of the matter. Alas. The Soul Society hasn't had such a nasty incident in a long time. Even Mole City Kenpachi had to sigh, even feel outraged. He slapped the wooden table heavily, and said angrily, A vicious murder happened in Rukongai last night. A female resident was killed, and the murderer turned out to be our Shinigami from Gotei 13. What? There was an uproar in the conference room. The moment everyone became a Shinigami, they would swear an oath to protect the peace of the Soul Society forever and protect the lives of the residents of Rukongai. However, this Shinigami did something that violated his oath. No wonder it was classified as a vicious incident by the Central 46 office. Mole City Kenpachi continued. Captain Yamamoto ordered to send members of the 11th Division to Rukongai to arrest the murderer. Nuo Jiao, this is the purpose of my summoning everyone, and I have made specific arrangements, you listen carefully. Uchiha Madara, you are in charge of taking another part of the team to the place where the accident occurred, the 78th District Inazuri investigation. As the 5th seat, this time shoulders a heavy responsibility, I hope you can arrest it as soon as possible. As for the others, they will follow their respective officers to guard the area with the serial number. As for the last 2 areas, there is no need to go. No matter how courageous the murderer is, he will not dare to step into those 2 areas. After giving the order, Mole City Kenpachi scanned the audience and said in a deep voice, Do you have any objections to this arrangement? Everyone shook their heads, but Uchiha Madara said, Captain Mole City, can I make a request? Mole City Kenpachi raised his eyebrows and asked, What request? Let me go alone to find the murderer. Let me go alone to find the murderer. Uchiha Madara stood calmly and said something that left everyone dumbfounded. What? You want to go to the 78th area alone? This is a risky move. The person next to Uchiha Madara anxiously dissuaded him. Although Uchiha Madara was the 5th seat, after all, the murderer's whereabouts were unknown. If he was negligent, he might encounter accidents. This was something no one wanted to happen. Uchiha Madara, are you really so determined? Mole City Kenpachi stared into Madara's eyes, and said solemnly, although your strength is more than enough to deal with the murderer. But this is not what I am worried about. What can really endanger your safety is the Dubashi District, Jang District. Zaraki District, listed as a forbidden area by most Rukongai residents. Not a blade of grass grows, famine is everywhere, and each soul kills each other to decide who gets the right to live. In Zaraki District, there are no good residents, only thugs with blood on their hands. Even the Shinigami who did the murder didn't have the guts to step into the Zaraki area. Are you really determined to go alone? Mole City Kenpachi let out a sigh of relief. Back then, he also stepped into the Zaraki area and witnessed the bloody and cruelty there. There are no rules, no restraints, only blood and killing. There, history is dominant. Only strong power can survive. It is precisely because of this that every time someone who joins Gote 13 from Zaraki District, although he does not become the captain, he also occupies the position of the chief officer of each team. In some respects, Zaraki District is similar to Hueco Mundo, but with a little more humanity. It's just a murderer who lost his mind, so why bother, I'm enough. Uchiha Madara looked calm and did not explain further. Well, then as you wish, Uchiha Madara. This time Mole City Kenpachi did not object again, he saw unwavering determination in Uchiha Madara's eyes. Mole City Kenpachi waved his hand back, threw a small scroll to Madara, and warned, it records the location of the incident and the map of several districts behind Rukongai. There is also a seal on the scroll. Once you capture the murderer alive, you can CCFI to activate this seal, and we will also send team members to support it at that time. Uchiha nodded, pocketed the scroll, and turned to leave. When he walked to the door, Kenpachi's concerned voice came from behind him. Be careful, don't set foot in the Zaraki area without certainty. Uchiha Madara paused slightly, a look of anticipation flashed in his eyes, and then quietly disappeared from everyone's sight. Alas, Rukongai residents, when will we be able to be at peace? Mole City Kenpachi sighed heavily, seemingly preoccupied, but actually he was perfecting the long-planned plan in his mind. He muttered in a low voice, perhaps, this incident is an opportunity. On the other side, Uchiha Madara left Gote 13's team building soon after leaving the meeting room. After walking out of the city wall made of murderous stone along the southern gate, Uchiha Madara finally left Jinglingting and set foot on Rukongai again. Going back to Rukongai again, it's not what it used to be. Uchiha Madara became the 5th seat of the 11th team, and is an unattainable figure in the eyes of Rukongai residents. Wearing the 11th team jersey, Uchiha Madara walked the streets of Rukongai and received a lot of attention. The eyes of awe, envy and longing are endless. But for these unnecessary gazes, Uchiha Madara has no chance. For him, any glory and status are fleeting, and the only thing worth chasing is Lee Testi. Turning over the map, Uchiha Madara has a general understanding of the entire situation of Rukongai. Rukongai is the first place where all ordinary souls arrive first after they leave the world and are guided by Shinigami. The souls who come to the Soul Society will be distributed, sorting coupons, which will be distributed to 80 regions in the southeast, northwest and north according to the order of death. The public security and living environment in the first district are ideal, and the food is plentiful. It is the most suitable place to live besides Jingling Court. However, with the increase of the number of area codes, the public security situation and living conditions in each district will decline and become worse and worse. In the 80th district, there is no grass, famine is everywhere, and everyone's souls kill each other to decide who gets the right to live. And the place where the accident happened, in Izuri district, there is a serious shortage of fresh water, thieves are rampant, theft is extremely frequent, fresh water is sold at a price, and the security conditions are extremely poor, the living standard is very low. Since Uchiha Madara starts from the south gate, although there is still a distance from the Chenghang area, it is not too far away. Every time he crosses a block, Uchiha will pay attention and leave a mark along the road. Although Uchiha Madara used to live with Matsumoto Rengoku and Ichimaru Jin, he does not live in Minami Rukongai, so he is still unfamiliar with this area. With the help of a map, after a long journey, Uchiha Madara finally came to the hanging area. What came into view was dilapidated houses. Compared with the bustling Jinglingting, this place can be called a slum. Seeing this desolate scene, Uchiha Madara couldn't help feeling the cruelty of the world. The nobles living in Jinglingting couldn't understand the hardships of the residents of Rukongai. Finally, according to the markers on the map, Uchiha Madara came to the house of the murderer. However, he saw a scene that surprised him. I saw that there were many wild flowers picked from the mountain in front of the house. These wild flowers are woven into wreath after wreath, as if mourning the dead. What surprised Uchiha Madara even more was that in front of the house, there was a thin figure kneeling down. Who is he? With doubts, Uchiha Madara walked towards the house and finally saw the appearance of the figure clearly. It was a dark-skinned man with curly hair parted naturally in the middle, and his eyes were covered with white cloth. Obviously, he is blind. Seemingly hearing Uchiha Madara's footsteps, the blind man raised his head and looked into the distance. Uchiha Madara was puzzled. He actually saw a few tears streaming down the blind man's cheeks. Weeping blind man. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.